Phone, we don't have. All right.
Yeah, I stay ready.
Ready? Wait, Dr. Wilson finishes up. All right, Dr. Wilson, we're about to kick off. Okay, it is 3:34. If we could please call this Caddo Parish Commission meeting to order. It is February 3rd. This is our regular meeting agenda.
Slap that gavel.
Here we go. All right, we are calling the meeting to order. Mr. Clerk, could you please conduct roll call?
Commissioner Hopkins.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Young.
Here.
Commissioner Burrell.
Here.
Commissioner Jones.
Here.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Present.
Commissioner Taliaferro.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Atkins.
Here.
Commissioner Chavez. Commissioner Lazarus.
Here.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Present.
All right, I am showing 10 of 12 present. That is a quorum.
Great, thank you very much. Commissioner Chavez, if you could please lead us in an invocation, and Commissioner Jones, if you could please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. All stand, please. Remove your hats, please.
All right, all heads bowed. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for today. Thank you for all the blessings that you bestow upon us. Please keep everybody in Caddo Parish safe today and tonight as the weather rolls in and we shut down the freeways. Please let everybody get home safely after this meeting. In your son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Everyone, please place your hand on your heart. Veterans, surrender a proper salute and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Chavez, for that prayer, and thank you, Commissioner Jones, for leading us in the pledge. Mr. Clerk, do we have any agenda additions today?
I'm not aware of any agenda additions today. There may be some floor motions for some items later in the meeting, but no actual agenda additions.
Okay, so that brings us to citizens' comments. We have several here, and
Mr. President, I'd like to suspend the rules.
okay.
We have a couple special resolutions. People have come to see those resolutions. If we could go ahead and handle those before we move into citizen comments,
Second.
I think it would help
Okay.
us with our room capacity also.
We have a motion from Commissioner Hopkins and a second from Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts to suspend the rules and move two items up. Mr. Clerk, which items is it that we'd like to bring forward?
I believe the items that most of our guests here today are in attendance for are the proclamation and recognition of Miss Shelley McMillan and the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority resolution and proclamation.
Okay, what are the numbers on those on the agenda?
Those should
Here
be
we are.
items number
8.3.
8.3 and 8.5, I believe.
That is correct, 8.3 and 8.5.
They're on this agenda. Okay, so may we call, I saw any debate on that? Can we, by acclamation, can we go into special session or suspend the rules and bring these two items forward? Okay, seeing by acclamation, let's bring these two items forward. Mr. Clerk?
All right, and if you would, I believe.
Which one?
We're going to do, I think we'll do the other one first and then this one second. And this one, oh, sorry. Just wanted to make sure they had the hard copies to present.
Just for those in the chamber today, there are a number of people here to participate and observe these special resolutions. So we thought to respect your calendars, we would bring these to the front of the agenda and work through both of these issues, and then perhaps allow some of you all to get back home before it gets too rainy outside. All right, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, so the first item we have is a special resolution proclaiming Coach Shelley McMillan's 700th career win.
President, I'd like to englobe and adopt both of these resolutions at this time.
Thank you. Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Chavez to globo and adopt these two resolutions, seconded by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts. All in favor by acclamation? All in favor. Okay. We are ready.
Okay, if you'd like, Shelley, if you want to come up to the front, and I believe Commissioner Chavez is going to meet you down there. Those, of course,
All
those
stand,
motions
please.
carry, and I'll begin reading. Everybody would like to stand. This resolution of recognition and appreciation to Ms. Shelley McMillan reads, whereas the Caddo Parish Commission is pleased to acknowledge with pride the accomplishments of those Northwest Louisiana sons and daughters who have gone forth to attain success and distinction in the various endeavors they pursue, especially when those endeavors enrich our community across generations, leaving an indelible mark. And whereas on January 25th, 2022, Northwest Louisiana soccer icon Shelley McMillan added a new distinction to her remarkable career when she earned her 700th career win, cementing her legacy as the winningest soccer coach in Louisiana high school sports history, an accomplishment that now rests alongside her 26 District Coach of the Year honors, 8 All-City Coach of the Year awards, Louisiana Boys 1996 Coach of the Year, and Louisiana 2010 Girls Coach of the Year awards. And whereas McMillan's 30 years coaching in Northwest Louisiana have seen her in various roles, from her current post with the Parkway Lady Panthers, a team that she not only came out of retirement to revive 3 years ago, but that she founded in 1990, to her time coaching the Loyola boys team to their first state title, founding the Loyola girls team, or coaching both the boys and girls teams at Calvary. In each role, she encouraged, guided, and lifted countless young men and women to reach farther, higher goals than they could have imagined as they stood strengthened by the support of McMillan's high standards, leadership, character, and faith. And whereas before becoming the record-setting coach that she is, McMillan earned her place in local soccer history as a player with Airline High School and Centenary College, where she's noted for scoring the first goal in the history of the Centenary women's soccer program. Outside of soccer, McMillan has made significant and lasting contributions to our community through motivational speaking, where her inspirational and faith-guided words have encouraged audiences not to give up, her commitment to her family as a wife, mother, and daughter, and her work as CEO of Rock Solid with programs like Project Swim, which responded to the tragic drowning of 6 area youth in 2010 by providing free swim lessons to now over 15,000 Caddo area children. And now therefore be it resolved by the Caddo Parish Commission meeting in legal and regular session this 3rd day of February 2022, that it does hereby declare and proclaim February 15th, 2022 to be Shelley McMillan Day in Caddo Parish, Louisiana. And that's in recognition and admiration of her notable achievements and distinguished life. Be it further resolved that this Caddo Parish Commission does encourage all citizens of Caddo Parish to celebrate the great honors that Coach McMillan's accomplishments bring to our area by encouraging someone not to give up, letting someone know that you believe that they can achieve their best, or otherwise sharing McMillan's brand of positivity with the world. All right.
Everybody, you can be seated.
Commissioner Chavez?
Shelley, don't leave. I know a lot of people are going to want to say something. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Coach, you're incredible. I mean, I've known you personally. This was my son's first employer, and he was at the lifeguard at the pool, and everything that says is so true. I mean, like, when I grow up, I want to be like you. It's I would have my son come home, and just the things that he would tell me about how you would mentor the kids, it wasn't just about being a coach and winning. It was life lessons that I know that him in Houston today still uses. And I didn't just see that with my own son, but every single kid that you encountered. You make this city and this parish better because you're in it. And I didn't want this to go by without us acknowledging you personally to say thank you for everything you've done for not only my life, but everybody in this room and all the citizens across Shreveport. Thank you so much.
Coach McMillan, thank you. Thank
I'll be
you
here.
for your years of service to our community, coaching our young men and women. We appreciate all you do. Any comments from the Horseshoe? Seeing none, we just want to thank you very much for all you do, and thank you for coming up today.
Thank you very much.
Let me just ask our members in the chamber that if you do have a mask and you're sitting close to a neighbor, please, just out of respect for your neighbor, please mask up. It's a little tight in here, and we know that there's a coronavirus circulating around, so we'd appreciate that. Thank you very much. Commissioner Johnson, or Commissioner Clark, do you want to speak to this one?
Yes, and at this point, we have a special resolution celebrating Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And I do apologize. It looks like the upload of this omitted one of the co-sponsors, which was Commissioner Roy Burrell, but it is also sponsored by Commissioner Lyndon Johnson. And if it is okay with them, I will begin to read it. This is a resolution of recognition and appreciation to Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Whereas the Caddo Parish Commission is pleased to acknowledge events of significance that occur in the community and to recognize the organizations and individuals who are now and for a long time have been in the forefront of positive and worthy activities and deeds that accrue to the benefit of all. And whereas such an organization is the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated's Delta Lambda Omega chapter in Shreveport, Louisiana, who were chartered on February 3rd, 1947, and today celebrate their 75th anniversary of dedicated and distinguished service since Miss Arnetta G. Wallace, who served as their initial regional director, organized and chartered Delta Lambda Omega's chapter with charter members Irma Jackson, May Scott, Nanny Leach, Zerlene Baker, Mabel Walker, Maxine Chambers, and Hattie Fletcher. And whereas the chapter's membership increased and alongside with continued growth, its priorities and goals expanded to serve Caddo, Bossier, and DeSoto parishes. The first fundraiser was a piano concert by Lisa Tolles at Central Colored High School on November 18, 1947. Since 1949, Delta Lambda Omega has awarded annual scholarships during the James Sylvester Hall Senior Luncheon, recognizing the top African-American college-bound girls from local schools. Delta Lambda Omega's members have proudly served on international, regional, and local levels and their esteemed sisterhood, including Mrs. Dorothy Johnson, who is now deceased, at the 15th South Central Regional Director, and Ms. Tari T. Bradford, who joins us today, as the 22nd South Central Regional Director. And whereas Delta Lambda Omega chapter has enthusiastically implemented a variety of programs, events, and educational offerings to enhance the lives of community members, the chapter is widely known for the Shoe Bank program, which provides shoes and socks for underprivileged school-age students. In 2018, the chapter was acknowledged as one of the longest operational programs by the national organization Reading is Fundamental for sponsoring and implementing reading programs and free book distributions for over 40 years. While celebrating the 112th Founders Day of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, a gala was held in February 2020, and a donation of $3,000 was awarded to Southern University Shreveport and Grambling State University. And whereas the chapter partnered with LSU Health Shreveport to host free mammograms in the Ivy Crown parking lot, supported American Health Association with 2020's Pink Goes Red activity, featuring heart-healthy meals created by minority-owned small businesses, blood pressure checks, and heart-healthy exercises, an Alzheimer's support group at Morning Star Missionary Baptist Church Life Center, donations of eyeglasses to the Lions Club International, donations of shoes in support of Souls for Souls, financial donations to organizations including LSU Health Shreveport's Office of Diversity Affairs, the American Cancer Society, the Northwest Louisiana Sickle Cell Disease Association, the NAACP, Northwest Louisiana Food Bank, and Providence House's efforts to provide housing to women and their families experiencing homelessness. And whereas under the 2022 presidency of Mrs. Charlene Voorhees, Delta Lambda Omega chapter has a membership of 281 and maintains a status as a premier chapter offering educational programs, academic scholarships, and striving to make a positive change and support like-minded organizations. Now therefore be it resolved by the Caddo Parish Commission and legal session convened that it does hereby proclaim and recognize February 3rd, 2022 as Alpha Kappa Alpha's Incorporated Delta Lambda Omega Chapter Day in Caddo Parish, Louisiana, and treating all citizens of the parish to join in applauding this observance and in honoring Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority's Delta Lambda Omega Chapter and its members.
You may be seated. To the ladies of Alpha Kappa Alpha, Delta Lambda Omega chapter, you have definitely been busy the last 75 years. And that just was a short list of the things that you do. I appreciate the things that you do to the community because you're helping the next generation get ready to become into womanhood, and it's showing. You affect a lot of young teenage females in our community, and I appreciate the jobs that you guys do.
Mr. Chairman, members of this distinguished body, thank you for allowing us to have the opportunity to let you know what we do. And yes, Commissioner Johnson said it well. We do a lot, but we want to thank you for the partnership that you have allowed us to have with you, with grants that we have, that we've acquired from you, and we're able to do more things in the community because of you and other governmental entities. At this time, I would like to turn the microphone over to our president, Mrs. Charlene Voorhees. And once again, Caddo Parish Commissioners, thank you for what you do. Your
Thank you.
work is
Thank you.
noticed. Thank you. Good afternoon, Caddo Commissioners, citizens of Shreveport. On behalf of the ladies of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Delta Lambda Omega Chapter, we proudly accept this recognition. To God be the glory. It was God's grace that has allowed Delta Lambda Omega Chapter to now celebrate 75 years of service here in Caddo, Bossier, and DeSoto parishes. Not only that, but our sorority internationally has celebrated 114 years. We are standing on the shoulders of our 7 charter members, and we are inspired by their determination, their wisdom, and their commitment that has allowed us to still be standing and flourishing. It is our responsibility to pass on the torch and to continue their legacy of service. Again, thank you so much for the recognition.
Thank you.
Commissioner Burrell.
Commissioner Vice President Burrell has a few words to say, ladies.
Thank you. I just wanted to compliment our sisters of Alpha Kappa Alpha. As you said, you celebrated your 114th year, and we were actually chartered, Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity actually chartered 2 years prior. So we are 116 years old. And again, Mr. President, they do such great work, and they stay busy. God knows, every time you turn around, you see their names everywhere. And I would be remiss if I didn't recognize one of their, I guess you would say, more famous sisters, Vice President Kamala Harris is also AKA. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell, and thank you, ladies, for coming down to the Caddo Parish Commission meeting today, and thank you all for everything you do for our community. We're very grateful to you all.
And just in the interim, I believe they're going to try to take a photo in the lobby if everybody who would like to be in that photo.
Okay, could we have a motion to move back into?
So moved.
All right,
Second.
a motion by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watson, a second by Commissioner Jones to move back into regular session.
Okay, and that brings us to citizens' comments, where citizens who wish to address the commission on any issue other than zoning are asked to fill out a comment card in the chamber foyer and return to the president or clerk or the commission. Individual comments are limited to 3 minutes. And I realize we do have a lot of people in attendance today. If we, for some reason, may have run out of forms, feel free to just come let me know. We'll get you another form. We have submitted a number of requests to speak already, and I do have another couple over here as well. So I'll bring those to you in just a moment.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to open up our citizens' comments here. Let me remind you all that each citizen has up to 3 minutes to speak. They don't have to speak all 3 minutes, but they are entitled to 3 minutes. And then we have a maximum of 15 minutes per topic. So if there are I see on one of our topics, on the property standards rural topic, there are a number of speakers. There may be an opportunity to consolidate. But the maximum we could have on any one topic is 15 minutes. So with that being said, let's start out with Resolution 7, Mr. John Robinson.
Mr. President, the system is down, but there are several members out here without masks on, so if they're not gonna mask up, we may need to file security to expedite the meeting.
Well, I don't think we have that protocol in place right now, do we?
I thought it was mandated in the city of Shreveport.
Mr. Bernstein, is there currently a mandate in this building that people wear masks?
Yes, it is.
Yes. Okay. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, there's apparently a mandate in this building that masks are required when you're in the audience. So if you don't have a mask or do not prefer to wear a mask, could we please ask you to step out? If you do have a mask in your pocket, feel free to put it on.
They have some in the.
And there are some in the foyer out back. So I apologize for the inconvenience. It's just the times in which we live. Yes, sir. We have Mr. Robinson.
Yes, sir. Would it be necessary for me to remain masked as well?
No, you can remove your mask to speak so we can we can all understand you.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank the Parish Commissions for this opportunity to stand and address the issues that are affecting 53 homeowners who reside within 83 feet of HARASU 133, Section 35, 17 North, 16 West of the Greenwood Wanscombe Field. That's located at Shirley Francis and Highway 169. This particular well is located at the southwest corner of 169 and Shirley Francis. Now, we are your neighbors to the south, or to the west. We're kissing cousins. And we're known for several things, and some of which you have heard of. Our hospitality, being far out of the city, and our best reputation for being a speed trap. Now, if you were traveling through Greenwood going 75 miles an hour in a 35, chances are we trapped you, clocked you, and gave you a citation. Or on the 120 at speeds in excess of 120 miles an hour. We sincerely hope that our Greenwood Police Department trapped you and gave you a citation as well. We were once known as a small, quiet town, but that's no longer the case. We are now trapped by noise from oil and gas companies night and day. But according to them, they can't stop. It's either our way or the highway as far as the noise is concerned that's affecting these 43 residents within 83 feet of their location. Just to touch on Resolution 1, where the 1,500 feet is being considered, they feel that it's too restrictive. They need to be closer. And I can tell you right now, closer only causes more noise with no abatement, 24/7. They never volunteered to erect a sound barrier, and they've been told, we need one. They never volunteered, they never asked us, and so we contend with the noise on a constant basis. Referring to Resolution 4, don't tell them to regulate hours, because only citizens should work regular hours. They work 24/7, and the noise is 24/7. Now, fracturing is a modern technology.
Excuse me, Mr. Robinson.
Yes, sir.
Your time is up. someone may want to.
Move to extend.
Move to extend.
A motion to extend. We're giving you the privilege of an
I'm sorry,
extension,
3 minutes was
please.
pretty fast. I apologize.
Yeah, another 3 minutes.
Okay. So it's a modern technology. But what they don't tell you is that the wells are dangerous to health, life, and limb. The wells release methane gas. There are always gas leaks that we're not told about. They cause considerable respiratory lung infection, just to name a few. I appreciate it if you would give your consideration to the passing of Resolution 17, not just for the benefit of our residents, but for any resident who are affected by some of the same illnesses that we are. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Thank you for coming down today. Mr. Peter Siska on the same topic. Welcome, Mr. Siska. Thank you for coming down.
Thank you.
We'll need you over here at the microphone. Thank you.
Yeah, apologize. Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Peter Siska. I'm professor at LSUS University, and I live in Shreveport, Millicent Avenue 8510, almost 5 years. I'm also a proud United States citizen. I'm here to speak in support of Commissioner Ken Epperson's Resolution 17. You may ask why, let me tell you quickly my reasons. First of all, I support the quality of life over anything, and this resolution is about the quality of life and protecting of citizens' quality of life, as we heard before. Also, this resolution is about preserving the natural environments such as Cross Lake and resources that we have here, water resources, the source of municipal drinking water, and also the air and everything that is in the environment. So why I'm supporting this resolution also, let me show you a few articles. The first one that I have in my hand, and I can make it available, is about the cancer incidents in Louisiana and how are they linked to the industrial development, especially petrochemical industries, Cancer Valley between Baton Rouge and the New Orleans, and affect mostly impoverished people and black communities. Another article clearly indicates that this economic development, the chemicals that we use in our environment are getting into our genes already. So we have we are transmitting these problems to next generation. Another one talks about the influence of chemicals in agriculture. And as a result of using these heavy chemicals in agriculture, we have Parkinson's disease. You feel free to check over that thing. So when we look at the fracking industry, we have to think about those 20 millions of liters of water that are pushed under force into these wells, and for every well. So there's millions and millions of water that is being used and wasted. In addition, we have about 200,000 liters of chemicals that are mixed into this, and sand as well to keep those fissures open. So those chemicals are all kinds of acids, and some of them are secrets that companies will never reveal that, what's inside. The problem is that 1/5 of them also comes back in these wells to the surface and influences the environment. And as the gentleman before me said, methane is also part of this problem that increases the global warming quite significantly. So we have all kinds of things that are associated with the fracking industry. And it's not about being against economic development. No, we want the economic development to continue. However, we want to have a balance. We have to know when is enough. We can't just go forever with something and destroying the life of our future generations.
Excuse
because
me,
the
Professor.
quality of life is becoming the more important
Professor,
than anything else.
Your 3 minutes is up. Do we have a motion to extend?
Motion to extend 2 minutes.
You have do we have a second on that motion? We have a motion to extend for a motion and a second to extend for 2 minutes if necessary.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to finish it very quickly now. So I believe that this Resolution 17 is quite reasonable. It's not asking really for too much. Staying 1,000 feet away from the private property of industries it's reasonable. It's not something what would be drastically changing the life and destroying the economic development. Not at all. The economic development will continue in this regard. It's just asking the question, what is reasonable? What is about the balance in our lives? We have balance. The balance is extremely critical for our life to keep in everything. So I'm for this balance and I'm for this resolution, and I would like to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Siska. Okay, that's all we had on Resolution 17. We now have one citizen interested in speaking on Resolution 13. This is Francis Kelly. Resolution 13 is dealing with immigration. Welcome, Ms. Kelly. Nice to see you again.
Hi, Francis Kelly, 935 Linden Street, Shreveport, Louisiana. I don't want to take long. I will be available later if you guys have questions when it comes time for that. I think the main thing I want to emphasize is that there have been multiple news reports by both state and national media, very respected organizations such as the Southern Poverty Law Center, Freedom for Immigrants, have filed multiple civil rights complaints about these abuses that have happened in detention. And there are allegations that the private prison companies that have contracts with ICE are not delivering on the service that U.S. taxpayers are paying for them to deliver. And so I think that this resolution is calling for the White House to take steps to address this and look into these allegations, and for the chair of the Homeland Security Committee in Congress to look into these multiple allegations of abuses and misuse of government funds. So I hope that you guys will support this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you for coming down again, Ms. Kelly. We appreciate your attention in this matter. We have a topic, one speaker on economic development, Damon Humphreys. Welcome, Mr. Humphreys. Thank you for coming down today.
Well, thank you,
Go ahead
President Atkins, and
demask for. Thank you.
we well, thank you for the opportunity, the privilege to be here and to stand before you on today. Stand today to speak on behalf of our organization, which is Image Changers, nonprofit organization. But first of all, let me just introduce myself to the commission. And I am Damon L. Humphrey Sr. home address is 8820 Blanchardford Road, Shreveport, Louisiana. I live in District 1, but our organization serves in District 2, where Commissioner Johnson is. And and of course, we have representatives of those who have the same shirts on that I have on today. We are representing the organization Image Changers. And Image Changers is a nonprofit 501c3 organization. But we have been in existence for since the year of 2006. And since that time, with partnership with the city of Shreveport, and also, in working with the commissioners, Caddo Parish Commission, we have helped the citizens of Caddo Parish with housing and also with education by tutoring. Now, we have submitted an application, and I do believe that it is listed in Ordinance number 6165. And our desire is to continue the great work that we have started within the parish. With our partnership with the city of Shreveport, we have built 5 homes in the MLK area. And those 5 homes are occupied with persons who are of low income, moderate income means. And these are homes that are brick homes that have been established and built by contractors of Caddo Parish. Now, we were instrumental in getting this done, and then we identified with the partnership working with the city of Shreveport and, of course, with many financial institutions here in our fair city. What we do is vet those persons who are desiring to become homeowners to ensure that they are first qualified and that they can obtain a loan to be able to move into those homes. And so all of that's done with the partnerships of various institutions, and then those who are financial counselors to help those persons to become homeowners. So we want to ensure that we have a win-win situation going on. So we are presenting and asking that the...
Mr. Humphreys, your time is up, but there's a motion to extend. Please, we're going to give you the courtesy of an extension, but please try to
keep it
wrap her up.
We are asking that the commission will show a favorable vote towards Image Changers and receiving the funding that's necessary to keep our good work going, and that the citizens of Shreveport will become homeowners, many of them who are desiring to become homeowners, and then many of the properties are vacant, and then they will be off of the tax rolls, and where the city or the parish is taking the beat on that of having to pay for additional taxes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Humphreys. We appreciate what you do.
All right, thank you. Any questions?
We can't offer questions this time. Okay, thank you all. This brings us to the last topic in citizens' comments. It looks like we have 8 citizens interested in speaking on property standards and rural property standards and zoning. We have 6, I believe. So that would take us to about 18 minutes if everybody speaks for 3 minutes. So I ask you all to be aware of your time. Jake Brown, you want to kick it off? Sure. Nice to see you again, Jake. Yes, sir. And I will mention that we've got Ms. Taffy next, and then John Milkovich following Ms. Taffy, just so we can be more efficient. Hello.
Hey, how y'all doing? My name's Jake Brown. I live out on Cross Lake. I'm one of the board members with Cattle Alliance for Freedom. And the main question that I have is, why are we making the same mistake? And to look into that, I kind of think we need to look at why the system failed us to begin with. And I mean, we came here because we had tons of property members that were getting ticketed, and it was for four-wheelers, it was for boats, it was for, not being able to put a trailer because yours burnt down and now you've been rezoned with not proper notification. So all this stuff happened and the city saw money signs. So, we were the perfect group to go after. We drive around Shreveport every day and we see code violations, all over the place. But, some of those areas might not be able to pay those fines. So you have this Metropolitan Planning Commission and the MPC that were going out there and ticketing us because they thought we would just pay those fines. And, I didn't even know at the time that I had lost all my property rights. And, I go and start looking and reading because, I do oil and gas a lot. So I read a lot of legal. I have to deal with attorneys on a daily basis. So I started going through all this. And I was just like, holy moly. I just moved back from California, and now we pretty much have the same zoning and the same plan that they have. And I'm actually flying out to California monthly now, and I'm dealing with rural landowners in Sacramento that are kind of battling this same fight. So, we started looking at it, and we came to you guys to hopefully try to fix it. And we were told that it wasn't possible, that we had to change the state law. And so, luckily, we got Danny McCormick on board, and he went through and helped us draft HB 697. And we went down, we spoke at the House, and, it passed committee, but that vote was split. So, the Republicans voted for it, most of the Democrats voted against it, but it still passed. So it moved on to the Senate. So we went to the Senate committee, and we got through that. We had to go back twice. So we went first for the agricultural because the planning one wouldn't hear it. And so we drove down there. I took off time from work. I went and spoke. And right when I was driving into the driveway to go eat dinner with my wife, I was told I had to go back down. Because now, since it got heard by the agricultural committee, that wasn't the right committee. So then they moved us to the planning and zoning committee. And so I had to drive all the way back down to speak at that. Well, it ended up passing and it went to the Senate floor. And I couldn't believe it, but we got votes from both sides of the aisle. There wasn't one Democrat that voted against us. There wasn't one Republican that voted against us. And
Jake, let me pause you for a second. You run over your 3 minutes, but John Milkovich, he's on the list and he had to step out and he has given his time to you.
Okay.
So you have a couple more minutes.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
So we go back, we look at this, and I'm just like, how did the Senate pass this? And the main reason was because they realized we were the minority, and we were getting abused by the majority. At the time, City Council got to appoint members, and the Rural Commission got to appoint members. We don't get to vote for City Council. And so they saw that. We were always going to be the minority. And the same thing's happening again. We've got this board that y'all want to put in place, this rural planning board, and it's not going to work. These appointments, you've got one commissioner, which I won't name, but he wanted to appoint someone from Greenwood. And 1% of his people are in the rural area. So how is he wanting to appoint somebody to this board when he told me that he doesn't have a dog in the fight? And to get Danny McCormick to fix this. And y'all need to just go about your business. So you got him doing that. I was watching just the last meeting you guys had. I think it might have been long range or something. You had another commissioner that's mad because his area is all in the city. He doesn't get to put someone on this rural planning board. So you got all these city commissioners while I'm sitting out there, the minority, wanting to put people on this board. And so what's going to happen? This board is going to become the same thing it was before. It's already happening. And we're going to have a board that's going to do the city's bidding. And we're going to be in the same boat. Now, if that does happen, I'm already too invested in this thing. I've spent a lot of money on my house. I'm here. I moved here. I moved back from California. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep coming down here. And I'm going to keep fighting for what I believe is right. And honestly, I think we're to the point now that we really need to wait and see what the Attorney General has to say. Because there's a lot of questions. I mean, I've got parish attorneys here saying one thing, and honestly, it's an opinion. They're not giving case precedent. They're not really giving us the statutes. You read the statutes, and yeah, it says maybe you need this board, but maybe you don't. It's all in the verbiage. And, you know, I don't really think we do. And, you know, I know they say we got to have a board appointed to get rid of the master plan and to get rid of the UDC, and then the board can disband. Didn't we already have this board? Wasn't that the Citizens Advisory Committee? Wasn't that an appointed board? And didn't they recommend no planning and zoning? Like, I thought that's what happened, but like, that's what the people wanted, and we're back to this rural planning board. It's just not gonna work. And I just see this is just gonna be a problem that y'all are gonna have to keep dealing with. And all I'm trying to do is protect my property.
Thank you very much, Jake. Okay, Ms. Tappy.
Sorry. Hello, y'all. Okay, I'm gonna bring it down to a level that is so elementary that if y'all can't answer the question now, it's gonna be really bad, okay? So I had a conversation today with a colleague of mine in the real estate world, and we were speaking about how what's going on here and what's been going on for the past couple years, how it affects us as realtors and how it affects property owners. She said, so what did you do about it? I said, well, we went to them and expressed our problem. They told us what to do to fix it, and we did it. And she said, so did that not solve the problem? I said, we thought it did. She said, so why is there still a problem? I said, I don't know. She said, there must be an agenda on the other side. She said, what is their goal? I said, I don't know. She said, I guess we need to ask them directly. What is the point of what you are doing? Can any one of the 12 of you look us here in this room in the eye and answer, why are we still doing this? And with that response, can you make it make sense so that I can explain it to someone else who doesn't know and been following this for 2 years, what exactly is going on here? Basically, why are you not trying to actually serve the people who live in the rural areas? It really is a simple question. Why is the answer not so simple? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tappy. And just to remind the people in the chambers, we can't respond to inquiries that are made during citizens' comments. So it was a bit of a rhetorical question from Ms. Tappy, but we're not being disrespectful. We just are not allowed to respond. All right, Mr. Bruce DeVille.
Let me let you go first. We're running out of time.
Who do we have, Mr. Rasmussen?
Yeah, let them go in their respective.
All right, Bruce DeVille, come on up. Or sorry, is that Mr. Rat?
Well,
Okay, come on
I'll
up.
go right quick. I'm asking the same question. What's the agenda? What do we don't know? Why are we fighting the same fight all over again? Why are we wasting your time and our time on a battle we're gonna win? Why? Why are you trying to take our rural homes and do something with it? If we wanted to live in that big open sewer called the city of Shreveport, we would have moved there. We don't live there. We don't want to live there. Thank you.
Thank you. Was that Mr. DeVille? Was that Mr. DeVille who spoke?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rasmussen.
Randy Rasmussen, 4904 Albany Road, Shreveport. I'm in the zone in question here. And a couple of things that hit me. I understood that this passage of 697 was going to revert outside the city limits to the parish ordinances. Now, I've heard all of you say, several of you say, well, that won't work. I'm like, why not? There's noise ordinance to take care of noise problems. There's EPA to take care of smell problems. There's just all kinds of things. They'll take care of everything I've heard every one of you all say. So why can't we go back to that? And then if we need to, area by area, add in zoning or whatever in that particular area. It's so simple. I mean, come on. I've been seeing just down the street from me is a big new subdivision going in. It's got 1/4 acre lots. I'm like, what? What the heck's that about? Why are they doing that? They need to be more fitting in the area they're building in. If they want to be in the city limits, be in the city limits. I mean, you've got hundreds, if not thousands, of adjudicated properties in the city limits. Why not rebuild those areas and put those subdivisions there? Just drive down 70th Street one day from Red River all the way to the airport. You'll be appalled at what you see there. And there's a whole big areas over there that could be redeveloped. I mean, what's up with this? To me, it looks like you guys are doing the bidding of the people with money in town that want to build these pretty subdivisions. Well, you know what? We don't want those big, pretty subdivisions out in the rural areas. They need to be in the city because, A, the city needs revenue to maintain their
infrastructure.
Because you got you're getting to where you got a lot of space between, and the more people you have in a mile stretch, the more revenue the city gets for it. This makes no sense to me why we're building outside the city when there's all that going on. So why can't we just go back to parish ordinance for outside the city limits, period, do away with the zoning that's out there now, and as section by section as you need to, come in and put it up. There's no reason to put everybody under all this mess. That's what we were fighting against to start with, and now it sounds like all I'm hearing is insults from various commissioners that don't think we know what we're doing. Well, we're just some small ragtag group that doesn't know what's going on. Excuse me, we do know what's going on. We do know what we want. I feel totally insulted by those commissioners that said those statements. So anyway, just please, let us have our property rights. Just put us under the parish zoning, and we'll work from there. Simple. You're making it way too complicated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rasmussen. Mr. Milkovich, actually, with your permission, I gave your time away to Mr. Brown. However, we still have 3 minutes left in this 15-minute section. If you'd like to come take that time now, you may do so.
We'll do better if I don't take the 3 minutes.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, Mr. Milkovich.
I'm sure we'll all do better if I don't take the full 3 minutes, but John Milkovich, Keithville, Louisiana, Mr. President, Commissioners. Look, I have confidence in this commission, in your wisdom and courage, that you will shatter the incremental enforcement of the UDC. I'm hearing horror stories about the plans and even the beginnings of an effort to unleash an army of carport cops, overreaching officials, and a rigged, one-sided kangaroo environmental court where the judge is appointed and hired by the city. And what is the purpose? To fine, levy, regulate, intimidate, and charge us for horses, roosters, fences, carports, driveways, chicken coops, and leaves on the roof. What I've been hearing from the people of Northwest Louisiana, particularly Caddo Parish, is we don't need regulations on our horses and roosters and chickens and chicken coops. Our community doesn't have too many horses. We've got too many homicides. Our concern is not carports. It's car burglaries, car thefts, and carjacking. We're not worried about the condition of driveways so much as we are concerned about drive-bys. I feel like we need to allocate our resources on the true problem in Caddo Parish, and which includes Shreveport as crime. I understand that much of that is a city and municipal problem, but we feel like we need to be putting our resources where our primary problem is. It's not crumbling down outbuildings, it's not cracked sidewalks, it's not too many horses in the pasture. It's the crime in Shreveport. And I believe that it's time for the parish to be working closely with the city to come up with concrete solutions for the real problems. And if we don't have the money in Caddo Parish and the city of Shreveport to adequately pay our police officers, what in the world are we doing hiring an army of carport cops? I think it's time we get back to the business of the people. And let me say this, you know, we've heard the horror stories, we understand the master plan, we understand that this is part of Agenda 21. People get it, but that is not government of the people, by the people, for the people. That's government at the people, government against the people, government attacking the people. And I want to be very clear on the record. I've heard people suggest, well, some of these oppressive measures may be okay for inside the city limits, but not in the parish. I want to be very clear that I'm as against these overreaching, environmental, overzealous pantry police and carport cops in Cedar Grove, Allendale, Moortown, MLK, Southern Highlands, Ellerby Road, and Piermont, as I am against those measures in Spring Ridge, Keithville, Austin, Ida, Blanchard, and Oil City. And I hope that the people that have generated and originated this Agenda 21 agenda and their efforts to divide the people, I hope that it doesn't. I hope that the people that live in the city and the people that live in the rural areas will work together to protect the property rights and the freedoms of all of us. Thank you so much, Mr. President, and thank you very much, Commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Milkovich.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to the end of citizens' comments. Thank you all for coming down today. We appreciate you all continuing to share your thoughts with us. I assure you we are working towards a solution. As you all know, there's some legal complexities we're trying to work through, and the Attorney General's opinions will soon be submitted to the Attorney General's office, and hopefully that will give us some guidance and direction as to which way we can go. So thank you all, we appreciate it. Mr. Clerk, is he over there yet?
Okay, the next item we have on our agenda today is visitors, and we have no scheduled visitors, so we'll move along to adopting regular session minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
And just for clarity, I believe that motion may also include the minutes of the special session property standards hearing?
Both of them.
That's right.
Second.
Where's that motion? A motion from Commissioner Johnson to approve both items, and seconded by Commissioner Chavez. Approved by acclamation?
Yes.
You want to vote? Let's have a real vote on that.
Okay.
Jackson,
What's up?
vote on the motion.
Minutes.
There we go. That motion carries with 11 in support, none in opposition, and 1 absent. And that brings us to special resolutions, where we have taken up already items 8.3 and 8.5, but that does leave 8.1, 2, 4, and 6, which are special resolution of remembrance for Maddie McCullough.
All right, we have a motion to adopt by Commissioner Epperson and a second by Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you all. You have a copy of the resolution.
Commissioner Epperson, I think your microphone is.
You have a copy of the resolution. I just wanted to, and we've already funeralized Ms. McCullough. She was such a person of so well liked. We had to do basically almost 4 different services over a 3-day period of time. The church has a sanctuary capacity of about 700, and we had to put chairs in the fellowship hall. And she was interred on Monday at 2:00 p.m. at Lincoln Cemetery. The thing that I'd like to mention about her is that she raised 2 wonderful daughters, Carla and Beverly McCullough. Plus, she was a mother to the entire community that she lived in. Several godchildren that she raised, as well as children within the community, always looking after their needs and providing for them. And another thing that's good, and I think should go with a lot of us today, she worked 37 years as an administrator in the Caddo Parish school system and did not miss not 1 day. 37 years and no absentees.
Wow.
So she'd be sorely missed, a stalwart in the community, a great matriarch, and certainly a person that loved her church as well as her community. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. It was a wonderful resolution. I read it last night. Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to also echo some of the things that Ken was saying. Miss Maddie McCullough was my neighbor. She lives right around the corner from me, and as Ken said, that she had such a big heart, and she was always a campaign supporter, which was so important to me also. She really encouraged me to stay in there and fight. And her daughters, Carla and Beverly, well, they used to call them triplets because they used to dress alike. Mother dressed like the two daughters, or vice versa, because they were very much involved in church and other activities, and brought a lot of gospel singers. They were really in the area of religion. They were really faithful, and they would bring gospel singers here, and they were just all around good people. So again, just wanted to recognize Ms. McCullough.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Seeing no one else on the board, may we vote, Commissioner Clerk?
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna make a motion to englobo and adopt all of the special resolutions.
Second.
All right, a motion to englobo and adopt all special resolutions by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts. We'll vote on that. And then we'll come back and still take them one at a time, assuming we yes.
And that motion carries with 12 in support, none in opposition.
Okay.
Did y'all want to
speak,
move along?
Commissioner Gage Watts, did you want to speak on your special resolution regarding Black History Month?
No, I don't.
Okay. And did you want to speak, Commissioner Jackson or Johnson, on the resolution for Dr. Johnson?
No, that's good.
Okay, great. Thank you.
It's already happened.
Okay. That brings us to communities and committee reports, where we also have administration response for information requests from commissioners.
Okay, let's start out with the commissioners. Anyone on the board? Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Dr. Wilson, I know Attorney Frazier is not here today.
Yes, she's here, Mr. Israel.
Oh, I thought she
Commissioner
may have
Jackson,
left.
you might unmask just so we can understand you better.
I thought she may have left with the AKAs. I accidentally thought Erica was one. My bad, Erica. I won't do that again. But I did ask, did y'all start researching on the information I had asked about the Red River Waterway Commission? And if y'all don't have it today, that's fine, but if y'all.
I'm not sure. Right now, the priority is getting the Attorney General's opinion crafted and out the
Gotcha.
door.
But that one is kind of on the list.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you. That's it, thank you. That's it for me. Mr. Vice President?
Mr. Vice President.
Oh, who else on there?
Johnson.
Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you, Vice President. I do want to schedule a NGO meeting for next week, possibly Thursday next week.
I don't believe we have anything on the schedule.
Okay. And I also want to schedule an ARP meeting Thursday as well.
What times?
I had to check with the committee, but at least try to get.
You're not gonna be here.
Huh?
You're not gonna be here.
And Commissioner Johnson, I actually have a draft agenda I can send you now. You mentioned you may want to do that, so I'll put one together. I'll send it to you, and you can confirm the date. We'll get it out.
All right. Thank you.
You done? Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know it's getting ready to get cold and we have some inclement weather going. I want to make sure that we're looking out for our citizens all around the parish who are without shelter. I know there's a great concern for our animals being safe, but my heart goes out to those who are without shelter and need some type of assistance. So if there's anything that we can do, Dr. Wilson, on our end to look out for these citizens over the next few days, I'll be more than glad to work with you and anyone else who's concerned about the human beings on the street. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Epperson.
Yes, just like let all of the veterans know that Overton Brooks VA Medical Center will be offering drive-by free COVID testing to veterans only, Mondays through Fridays, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And some of your symptoms will be lack of smell and taste, runny nose, cough, possible fever, and veterans only drive-through. You won't have to get out of your vehicles. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Anyone else for communiques or committee reports? Dr. Wilson, I think you had some items to discuss with us.
Pardon me, sir?
Did you have any items to discuss?
Yes, sir. I'd just like to brief you on a couple of things. We would like to invite you all to tune into the next episode of Pulse of the Parish. The Pulse of the Parish is a monthly web show that created by the Communications Office that highlights the parish departments and stories that airs on Facebook and YouTube channels every Friday at 12 o'clock.
I'm sorry, Dr. Wilson, what is the name of it again?
It's Pulse of the Parish.
Okay, thank you.
And you'll be featured on it, Commissioner Atkins,
Uh-oh.
along with the our winter weather preparation, as well as the introduction to the use of new technology to do mosquito larva sighting.
Ratings will be low on that one.
Huh? Okay. So every first Friday each month at 12 o'clock. Also, I'm pleased to let you know that we received a plaque from the Shreveport Sports Commission for assisting at Camp Minden and helping spread some SB2 rocks over an area to create a staging area for Camp Minden. And what's going to happen is going to bring archery competition here for this area for the next 10 years. That will have a $25 million economic impact on our community. So the Public Works and Parks assisted in helping out. So they just want to extend their appreciation for the job well done. Okay, you should have some handouts at your station. I think the last time we met, Commissioner asked for a sample of what we were doing to prepare for inclement weather, what kind of equipment we were ordering. And I think there's a handout at your station that illustrates that we're going out to buy attachments for our vehicles and attachment for our road graders, and things of that the nature. We've got some of the equipment in, and some of it has a supply chain problem with parts coming in, so we have those things in order already. So as they come in, we would stage them for inclement weather in case we need them. Also, I think you have a handout from Parks Department as well on different programs that Commissioner Patrick Wesley had provided you all. So if you have any questions, please let us know. Otherwise, that should conclude my report for the day.
Dr. Wilson, weren't you going to brief us on the incident at the courthouse?
Sir, I need to talk to you offline on that one.
Okay.
Because there's some other extenuating circumstances there that
okay, thank you.
Don't allow me to make comments at this time.
Commissioner Young, did you have a question for Dr. Wilson?
Yes, Mr. President. Dr. Wilson, it's been a year since the terrible freeze last February froze our water system and made the toilets at CCC unflushable.
Yes, sir.
I would like for you to prepare for us sort of a detailed budget for a backup system of water tanks that we could use to keep that building sanitary in cases of emergency, with the idea of phasing it in over time through our capital budget, a little at a time, because the tanks could be set up in series.
Yes, sir.
And if we could have sort of a precise set of figures about that, I think it would help us decide how to go about preparing for that kind of emergency in the future.
Yes, sir. We have that information, and I will provide it to you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Young. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like this memo.
Yes, sir.
That was sent to you.
Yes, sir.
To be read into the records by somebody, the clerk, who does it, but I want it to be read into the records today.
Yes, sir.
And then I got some more questions after he reads that.
Okay. Sir, I defer to the clerk on that one.
That's fine.
I'll be glad to. Would you like me to
go
read it
ahead
this time?
Yes.
Okay. This is a memo from the Caddo Parish Attorney's Office to Dr. Wilson from Donna Frazier, Parish Attorney. And it is dated 1/20/22, current zoning status. And I just want to make sure that is the correct item that you're asking for. Okay. It reads, Dr. Wilson, House Bill number 697 removed Caddo Parish territory from the jurisdiction of the Shreveport Metropolitan Planning Commission of Caddo Parish. Essentially, it undid a legislative CEA between the parish and city of Shreveport for zoning functions. The statute did not become effective until 1/1/2022. The effective date is important because the parish no longer has the procedures and boards in place to handle zoning issues and matters for the parish. For instance, pending zoning cases must still be completed as well as new zoning cases considered. Additionally, the parish zoning ordinances were not repealed. All zoning ordinances are in place and affecting citizens right now. This includes everything from site plans to zoning violations to rezoning. Furthermore, a board must be in place to hear appeals and make decisions on certain issues. That is why the 2021 ordinance creating the Caddo Parish Planning Board was passed. Until it is populated and starts holding hearings, development in the parish is affected and zoning matters are at a standstill. Even those that arose before the legislation became effective are halted. And the second page continues. And it says, updated as requested in the 1/31/22 work session. The following should also be noted. 1, a 5-mile radius. The 5-mile planning area was established by parish ordinance since the parish had and continues to have authority to zone. Ordinances affecting property within the 5-mile planning area were legally adopted and continue to be in effect. The next item is property standards. Property standards is entirely different from zoning. It does not regulate land use, but regulates the condition in which property must be kept. Specifically, the property standards ordinances regulate the disposal of waste and junk on property, dilapidated buildings and structures, and grass height. The MPC staff never enforced the property standards ordinances. Initially, the constables and justice courts were charged with enforcement, but that arrangement was unsatisfactory. Now Caddo Parish personnel write citations, which are turned over to the Caddo Parish District Attorney if the violation isn't abated. The Caddo Parish property standards ordinances are contained in sections 30-19 through 30-31 of the Code of Ordinances, available at Article 2, Dilapidated and Dangerous Buildings and Structures, Code of Ordinances, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, Municode Library.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I think that answers some questions that was rendered to us earlier. We're not just sitting up here doing things that we shouldn't be doing. We're doing things that we should be doing. And just because it's not going a certain way doesn't mean that, you know, you come down and jump down throats of different commissioners to say you don't know what you're doing, you don't know this, you don't know that. I think that we're all elected by constituents to basically do the right thing for the parish, not for a small group, but for the entire parish. And I look at the rural area, the suburb area, and the urban area, 3 different areas. And they have 3 different means of why people move in those different areas. But this 5-mile area is not really rural, it's basically suburban. And so you treat it as a suburban area. And it's up to 5 miles. So if the city of Blanchard is 3 miles from the city limit of Shreveport, then it's only 3 miles. It's not 2 extra miles inside of Blanchard city limits. It stops at the city limits of Blanchard. And if city Shreveport does encroach upon that 3 miles, then that 3 miles now shrinks. It doesn't keep a 3-mile area. So there's a lot of things that need to be, I guess, hashed out and talked to, and so people will understand why we're doing what we're doing and not just hearing one side. But I think that answers a lot of questions on that. My second question is on the public works. Glad that we got the equipment, because it look like we might need it, depending on the weather tonight. The snow plows, are they coming soon? They gotta.
We haven't gotten that in yet, sir. We have to send our vehicles off to get retrofitted. So some of the parts to make that equipment work properly has not been received yet.
Okay.
So we're waiting on some of the things. The blades for the road graders, we have those in. We can swap those out instantly. It's not that difficult to do. And also, we have, like last February, we used our front end loaders to do a lot of work as well. And we also, things get just real bad, we would utilize some of our contractors that that will do road work for us to also go out and do some things that perhaps will expand our capability in terms of equipment.
Okay. Also, on the de-icer, the brine water.
Yes, sir, we have that.
We're gonna be using.
Yes, sir.
I was hoping that we would have got a truck with like a tank, a big tank, with sprayers on the back end that spray out, instead of the situation that I see right here. I mean, this would be good as a start, but I was thinking more of the bigger truck, and I'll show you a picture of what I was really thinking about when I was talking about sprayers for the brine water. And they're more effective, and they can cover a lot of area real quick.
I mean, with a water tank truck?
Yes.
Yeah, we did at one time had trucks like that when we were doing a lot of road work, but we couldn't justify the expense because we didn't use it that often. So we'll take a look at your suggestion and see how that compares to what we're using.
All right. And then my last one is, are we getting any closer with the contract with the Confederate Monument? I know she was working on it, so is it any closer?
Yes, sir. I don't have an update for you today, Commissioner Johnson, because that would require me to have a conversation with Attorney Frazier, who is primarily focused on getting the Attorney General's opinion out the door right now. So I would give you an answer sometime tomorrow.
Okay.
I'll just email you the answer.
That's fine.
And copy everybody on the board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. On the Confederate Monument, it was initially just on your administrative report. Is there any objection to you adding it back as a
no,
standing report out?
No, sir. I took it off because we
Right.
went through the bid process,
Right.
selected the contractor,
Right.
and I thought that would be well on its way.
Right.
So the only thing lacking is me signing the contract at this
Okay.
point.
But we're getting,
Yes,
I'm
sir. We
getting
can.
questions from residents, and
We
so
can.
if it's okay with you.
That's fine. I have no problem
We
with
just
that.
report out as opposed to, because I know it was on there one time. If we
Yes,
just
sir.
add that back so that we could know, have an ongoing update on it. Then my other
Okay.
issue is CCC.
Yes, sir.
The unfortunate situation with the female that got hurt, with the prisoner that hurt the female guard. I was asked, are we liable or are we indemnified from any, that young lady who got hurt because it happened in our building? Would we be liable for anything there, or you don't know, or?
That would be a legal question, sir. I don't know if you have familiar with this enough to answer that one.
Commissioner, without giving you a legal opinion, I would say, just simply point out, we own the building, we're obligated to provide the building. We are not obligated to run it.
So
That was not our employee.
So the operational aspect of it
Is the sheriff.
Okay. And I imagine we ask for hold harmless, or do we do anything to indemnify ourselves from any employee, any non-parish employee that gets hurt over there? Like, I imagine there's a cooperative endeavor that governs.
No, sir, state statute governs
That governs
That's-
the jail being run. So is
Correct.
there
The
anything
state
that?
statute says we're obligated to provide a parish jail, and the state
Right.
statute says that the sheriff is
Okay.
obligated to run it.
Right.
That's the extent of it.
Okay. But we don't do anything to indemnify ourselves from it?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. And I'll hold my questions about the memo
Okay.
when we get to it. I think it's a
Okay.
pretty well thought through concept. Thank you. That's it for me right now.
All right, thank you. Commissioner
I do
Chavez.
have one last question.
Oh.
I apologize. Did the organization, I think Grace had did they get their report in? So it is?
It is, yes.
So all reports are in? Have y'all looked to see if it satisfied you, or y'all hadn't had a
We
chance?
just got it, so
Okay.
we're looking at it.
Okay, all right. Thank you. That's it.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. Dr. Wilson, on this memo, I'd like to see a memo. This is obviously the parish's stance, or what's current. Can you hear me? This is the current situation for us, the parish, but it's
Yes,
not
yes,
the
sir.
current situation for citizens. And I now have two different citizens with two different issues, one with a zoning issue and one with a building permit issue, and they're literally stuck in limbo, and they've been given no answer. So I
sir.
understand that our attorney is telling you what our position is, but I would like to know so that we can adequately advise our citizens what is their position, because the position to just sit back and wait is not a good position.
Right.
I
agree.
understand that we're waiting for an AG's opinion. However, that's not binding. So that's not going to get them further down the road of any answers. So when I have citizens call in saying, I need to know what to do if I'm either gonna build this or move, we owe them an explanation as well.
Yeah.
So I would like to get this same memo
Yeah.
on that topic, either written from Attorney Bernstein or Attorney Frazier over to you, so that all the people around this horseshoe can start effectively answering our citizens when they call us and ask the questions of what are they supposed to do.
Yeah.
And that's all I'd like to see.
Yeah, Commissioner Chavez.
Yes, sir.
The problem is, we can write you a memo, but there's a process that's missing. You need a process to resolve. If someone want to come to you and say, I want to get a rezoning application submitted because I live in a certain part of the parish, we have no way to address that right now.
So can that memo detail out that process of what needs to happen?
Yes, sir, similar to what we had before. But anyway, we'll do that for sake of time. But we have to have a process whereby we can say this is what you should do from start to finish.
And we have conflicting opinions on that, because we have people that call that say that they disagree with our legal's opinion.
Okay, I think that's what the Attorney General questions want to answer, but I understand that in the interim, Commissioner Johnson raised a point the other day, could we get the MPC to also do the screening and advisory capacity on the issue? And I did have an opportunity to talk to Mr. Clark about that, and he did not advise that, because, again, it's kind of like asking the hen to guard the hen house, or the fox to guard the hen house, I should say. So we need to have a separate process, separate and apart from them, for the approval. If someone disagrees with the answer, they have to have the mechanism to appeal it to somebody. And right now, that's missing.
I totally agree with you, and I think written out as this memo is, it will help the citizens understand and everybody around this horseshoe understand, so we know what the next plan of action will be.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson.
Okay.
Thank you, President.
Thank you, Commissioner Chavez. Commissioner Epperson.
Dr. Wilson, did I miss the COVID report? COVID?
I gave it on Monday.
Well, if you would,
Yeah.
I'd like for that to be on Thursdays also, you know. Things could change because I think I got something at 11:14 today from Human Resources.
Yes, sir. The report I gave on Monday was that we had 37 total confirmed cases. I think that changed over the past few days. We had three, 4 more this week, affecting parish employees in this building and other places that we own. And also, we had a total of 4 positive cases. No, we had 37 cases for the month, 5 total workforce exposures, and we had 4 in the last 2 weeks. And then we had approximately 17 for the month of January for 13 funded agencies that occupy our buildings throughout the parish.
My reason for asking, because this memo from Human Resources is dated today.
Yes, sir. We've had several this week.
We had a change from Monday until today.
Yes, sir. That's correct. By 3 to 4.
I appreciate, Monday as well as Thursday.
Okay.
Thank you. That's it.
Okay, Commissioner Epperson. Seeing no one else on the board, Commissioner Clerk, let's advance.
Okay, and if I could just note briefly, there were quite a few electronic submissions that we received related to some of the items on your agenda today. Those have been forwarded to all of you via email. So in the event that you wanted to kind of read up on anything, primarily those are related to both rural zoning and resolution number 17 in your agenda today.
Okay,
So that's
thank
just
you.
a side note. And that brings us to the President's report. Did you have a President's report today, Mr.
I
President?
think we have a full enough agenda. Let's carry on.
Agreed. That moves us along to public hearing on zoning ordinances and cases. We have one item under this section, and then our next section of public hearing items contains quite a few. Would you like me to go ahead and just read this item? And
Let's address this item under zoning ordinances and cases, and then we'll open up the public hearing, and then we'll address the other items.
That sounds great. Before us today, we have 11.1, a public hearing for ordinance number 6154 of 2021, and that's in relation to zoning case 21-35-P. It's an ordinance to amend Volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended, the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code, by amending the zoning of property located on the west end of Sandy Acres Loop, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from RMHS Residential Manufactured Home Subdivision District to Rural Agriculture District, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. That's in District 12.
Thank you, Commissioner Clerk. The public hearing for zoning ordinances is now open. I will ask that anyone who would like to speak for or against item 11-1, please step forward and speak. Seeing no one, this public hearing is now closed. Let's carry on to item 12, Mr. Clerk.
That brings us to the public hearing on ordinances, where we have quite a few. Would you like me to go ahead and read through those ordinances and then open one public hearing to address them all?
Yes, sir. I'll just remind everybody to be patient. There are, I believe, 11 items under this section. So the clerk will read all 11, and then we will open up the public hearing for any comments that are necessary. Okay.
The first item, 12.1, is a public hearing for ordinance number 6167 of 2022. That's an ordinance repealing section 38-4 of the Code of Ordinances regarding the Shreveport-Caddo 2030 Master Plan and otherwise providing with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6168 of 2022. That's an ordinance repealing ordinance 6071 of 2021 relative to establishment of a parish planning commission and otherwise providing with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for an ordinance number 6173 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the 2022 budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Riverboat Fund and the Oil and Gas Fund to provide an additional appropriation for urban support and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6174 of 2022, an ordinance amending the 2021 budget to amend the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Head Start Fund and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6175 of 2022, an ordinance amending the 2021 budget to amend the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Section 8 Fund and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. Following that is a public hearing for 6176 ordinance of 2022, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the General Fund to provide an appropriation for wheelchair ramp and roof repair program and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. Following that is a public hearing for ordinance number 6177 of 2122, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Oil and Gas Fund and the Riverboat Fund to provide an appropriation of $32,000 for a mural program and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6168 of 2022, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund for the year 2022 to appropriate funds received from the U.S. Treasury in the amount of $5,274,675 for the Emergency Rental Assistance Program and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6187 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund for the year 2021 to appropriate Emergency Rental Assistance Program from the state of Louisiana and otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6188 of 2022, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenue for the American Rescue Plan Fund to provide an appropriation for the Ring Doorbell Pilot Program in Caddo Parish and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Following that is a public hearing for ordinance number 6189 of 2022. That's an ordinance to enact section 2-5 relative to the parish owned or maintained buildings and offices to provide that agencies, constitutional officers, and or other political subdivisions occupying those buildings and offices shall report data regarding communicable diseases of concern to the public and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I appreciate your diligence in grinding through those. The public hearing for all ordinances in section 12 is now open. Anyone here to speak for or against any ordinances in section 12, please come forward. Okay. welcome. Yes, ma'am. How are you?
Hi, John Glover, 9100 Walker Road, apartment 121, Shreveport 71118. I was looking at public hearing ordinance for 6186 and 6187. First, the funds that you all are looking at, that you're receiving, the $5 million plus, that was the federal grant? Or is the commission going to be matching those dollars or not? Same thing with 6187. There's $17 million in a grant that you all are asking to have appropriated as emergency rental assistant program. Now, I want to know too, why the E. Edward Jones Trust Funding Housing Fund, is that, does that allow every citizen in the parish to apply with that name, E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund? And two, how did the trust fund come to be? Because
those are a lot of questions.
I knew it, but it's dealing with both of those, because I want to understand fully, because I don't want to have any aspect of someone thinking that they're not a part of just because of terms or words that are used. And in this instance, E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund. I just want to know why that name and not maybe a generic name whereby it has no association with anything other than what the commission itself is going to be supporting. And again, the funding itself, are you all in either one of these junctures going to be matching any funds? Because you're asking for 2021 in 6187, that's $17 million you're saying that you all are talking about appropriating for emergency rental assistance. Those dollars are available, or are they not available?
Dr. Wilson, can you help Ms. Glover with that?
Yes, sir.
Let's start with the
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. We don't communicate during public hearing.
No communication. No.
Not supposed to.
Mr. Bernstein. The public hearing.
We'll have Haley answer your question on site.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is simply witnesses testifying on the record.
We don't do back and
All right,
forth.
so we can't go back and forth. Okay, thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Ms. Haley will work with you on those questions.
But may I make a statement, please? This is a public hearing. So to bring me to the side makes it not public information. Now, that's just my take on it.
Well,
but I do appreciate you allowing me to speak with her, but the public will not know what she has to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
Mr. President, I had made a point of order. We don't make the rules, we just follow.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Ms. Atchison.
Thank you very much. Pam Atchison, Shreveport Regional Arts Council, 801 Crockett Street. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President. Thank you also, Commissioner Jackson, for the whole commission seriously considering the opportunity for the mural program. I'm here to speak to 6177. The mural program put a poem on it that is conceived by your poet laureate, Poetic X, who is very keen to see each district have an opportunity to have community meetings where your citizens in your district have a chance to talk about their priorities. What are their values? What's the history of the community? Who are important leaders from the community? And what's the heritage that makes each of your districts so unique? And then subsequently, for him to be able to write a custom poem that deals with those issues, reflects them in a very positive way, and invite an artist to illustrate them and turn it into a mural that would go on a public building in each district. This allocation that you're considering would allow him to do 3 to 4 districts this year, and I'm very hopeful that you'll approve it. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Atchison. All right. Any other remarks in public hearings? Yes, sir, Mr. Lester. And Mr. Crackman, are you up next? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. President, Calvin Lester, my address is 3907 Eddy Place, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71107. I just want to come really briefly and thank the commission for its support of affordable housing and organizations. I want to thank the commission for its very forward-looking proposal or actual legislation that set up the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund to help in the areas of affordable housing. Those of us who practice and do this work know that in the city of Shreveport and Caddo Parish, there's a necessity. We are down almost 10,000 units of affordable housing in the city and the parish. And when you're talking about making communities safer, bringing up property standards, creating neighborhoods of choice, and stabilizing neighborhoods that may have been on decline, those are the things you're going to have to do. So I just want to stand in support of 6172 and thank you for your forward thinking, and please continue to invest in some of these areas in our community so that we can have positive areas all over the city of Shreveport and, more importantly, the parish of Caddo. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lester. Mr. Crackman.
Chris Crackman, 4530 Pine Knoll Drive. I'm going to keep it short. So we have Ordinance 6167, the 2030 Master Plan repeal in respect to Caddo Parish, and Ordinance 6168, which repeals 6071, which is the appointed board, which is questionable, the whole board thing, so I'm going to just keep it down on that. But this 2030 Master Plan business, more or less how y'all vote today, whether it be to postpone it or get rid of it or whatever the case may be, it should speak volumes of where we stand on this deal. And it's kind of like Resolution 32 of last year. It's gonna make a statement of where we stand, and if it ends up being 6-6, then we know where we stand, and it's probably gonna end up in a courtroom. We don't want that because we elected all of you to make a good decision here, regardless of what you think, or regardless of your personal opinion or political opinion. And I know we're going around and we're bragging about how we held off the UDC for however long and this and that, but at the end of the day, the people that are saying this voted for the UDC to begin with. It was a unanimous vote. I don't care how long it was held off. So this Ordinance 6167 is a hell of a start to get to where we've been screaming for 2 years. If y'all can get rid of that, then we're all on a good track. Now, as far as this appointed board goes, like I said, I think it would be wise to probably wait on the Attorney General's opinion. However, like I've said a million times, that's only an opinion. That doesn't mean that everybody in this horseshoe is going to listen to it. And again, if it ends up being 6-6, then I think we might know where we stand, and maybe you should not only wait on the Attorney General's opinion, maybe wait on our lawsuit, because we're on the edge of our seat debating what we want to do. And I know everybody is trying to do the right thing, but the path to hell is paved with good intentions. And today's going to tell the tale on what we're doing. And the way that some people are or aren't looking at me right now tells the tale of where we're going.
Thank you, Mr. Crackman. Any other comments before we close this public hearing? Go, Ms. Tappy.
Just real brief comments. Yes, Jane Tappy. On 6165 and 6189. And I just want to make sure there's no misunderstanding on these ERAP funds. And if I'm understanding it correctly, it says you'd like to amend the fund to provide an additional appropriation of $75,000 for housing quality inspections. Up above that, it says, whereas there have been reports of landlords receiving these funds and subsequently failing to maintain safe, sanitary, and secure housing. You got to understand the order of things. You got people living in houses for free. The system is paying that rent after the fact. The owners have had the property, they're trying to maintain the property, they're trying to take care of the property while these people are living in it, tearing it up, and now you want to come back and do inspections after the people have torn it up, but before the homeowners have gotten that money to fix and repair. You got to get your horse and your cart in the right order, and I want to make sure that that's looked at properly in the right order, that it happens. It's like you're punishing the owners for not taking care of the property that the people tore up, but the money didn't come till after they tore up, but you wanted to fix it before. Just kind of making that statement. And on 6189, this is so, all agencies, constitutional officers, or other political subdivisions that occupy facilities owned or maintained by the parish shall report periodically to the parish any occurrence of a communicable disease that is of concern. I surely hope y'all are not wanting your businesses, your buildings, and your facilities to report every time somebody has the flu. If you do, we're in even more trouble. So I do hope your wording here is not what you mean. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? Seeing no one, this public hearing is now closed.
Okay, that brings us to zoning ordinances for final passage, where we do have one item today. That is the ordinance number 6154 of 2021 in relation to zoning case 21-35-P. It's an ordinance to amend Volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended, the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code, by amending the zoning of property located on the west end of Sandy Acres Loop, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from RMHS, Residential Manufactured Home Subdivision District, to RA, Rural Agriculture District, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Do we have a motion?
Move for approval. Second.
Motion from Commissioner Epperson, second from Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts. Commissioner Epperson, would you like to comment?
Whatever the process is, it went through whatever was in place. The citizens are satisfied, no repercussions, so I would ask for favorable approval and let the chips fall where they may.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had a question for our legal department. Could you tell us the case history for this? It seems like it might imply that we have some sort of zoning board that recommended it to us because we're making a change in zoning. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, but this one...
Does this predate the
correct
change?
This one, the hearing before the Metropolitan Planning Commission on this one was in December when they still had jurisdiction.
I see. And it's fine for us to still act on that even though they're no longer...
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Young. Commissioner Jackson?
Nothing.
Nope. All right, let's take a vote, Mr. Clerk.
Okay. And that motion carries with 12 in support and none in opposition. That brings us to ordinances for final passage today. Our first item is ordinance number 6155 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Economic Development Fund in the amount of $5,000 to provide an additional appropriation for the Delta Upsilon Lambda Foundation and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Burrell, seconded by Commissioner Jackson. Would you like to comment on your motion, Commissioner Burrell?
No, sir.
All right, Commissioner Johnson, you're on the board.
Yes. I'd like to englobo and adopt ordinance number 6155 of 2022 and 6156 of 2022.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to,
And also ordinance number 6158 of 2022 and 6159 of 2022.
Second.
and was that motion to englobo and adopt?
Englobo and adopt all those. They all
Okay.
come out of the Economic Development Committee.
Okay, so we have a motion to, a motion from Commissioner Johnson. I'm sorry, who was the where was the second? Commissioner Jackson seconded it to englobo and adopt ordinance number 6155, 6156, 6158, and 6159. Is that correct, Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Any discussion on your motion?
No.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yeah, just in the,
Pardon me?
in the interest of Commissioner Lazarus' time, I'm gonna amend the motion to add 6160, 6161, 6163, 6164. And that's it.
Let me make sure I got that right.
So
You
adding
want to-
6160, 6161, and 6163? And 6164.
Okay. 61, so we're adding 60, the motion is to add 6160, 6161, 6163, and 6164.
Yeah.
Okay. Any comments on that, Commissioner Jackson?
No, sir.
All right. Commissioner Hopkins, you're on the board.
No, I'm fine.
Commissioner Chavez?
Just wanted to see if they would add 62 as well, if the author was cool with that. I'm good. Okay.
Got an amendment on that one. I just got
He's got an
a
amendment.
technical
So
amendment on that.
let's just stick with what we got. How about
I just
it?
got a technical amendment on that.
All right, you good?
Sure.
Okay. Any other comments before we?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm good with 6162.
Okay.
I apologize. That
Thank
came
you,
out of
Commissioner.
ARP. I'm good with
Okay,
it.
so you're amenable to adding
Yeah.
6162?
Yeah, yeah. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Is everybody familiar with what we're voting on? All right. Mr. Clerk, let's vote.
So this is now a motion to englobo and adopt 61, 55, 56, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64.
That's correct.
Please vote. Okay, and that motion carries with 12 in support. And that brings us to, we'll go to those items that were not included in that in the order, numerical order. That brings us to ordinance number 6157 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Public Works Fund and the Capital Outlay Fund in the amount of $107,500 to provide an additional appropriation to install welcome signs on I-49 and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move to adopt.
We have a motion by Commissioner Johnson, a second by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts. Commissioner Johnson, would you like to comment?
Yes, this is additional funding that staff has told me that we'll need to put these two signs in. One will be on the north side of the parish, coming in from Arkansas to Caddo Parish, and then the other one is leaving Caddo Parish or coming into Caddo Parish from DeSoto Parish. So it's two signs, and the state has a lot of red tape and caused the cost to go up a little bit. So that's the reason why this additional amount is needed.
Okay. Commissioner Young?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just had a question for our administration about what the signs are like. I haven't seen a picture of them. They seem like they're pretty expensive. Could you describe them to us? What are they made of? How big are they?
We had an architect firm design the signs, Commissioner Young, in accordance with the state requirements. And, you know, it's not a metal sign. It's I believe it's going to have brick around a metal enclosure. It's going to be aesthetically pleasing to look at. And of course, you know, we went several rounds on this for the last year or so, back and forth, trying to come up with a design that we all like. And I think this is it. So, but it does, when we bid it out, it did require more funds to do the project.
We have it on.
Okay, thank you. That's all, Mr. President.
Yeah, it has the brick pillars and the
Commissioner Young?
Caddo.
I'll email you
logo.
the drawing, sir.
Thank you. It has the
I
Caddo
don't have it with me today, but I'll email you the
trademark.
drawing.
All right. Seeing no one else on the board, let's vote.
Okay, and that motion carries with 10 in support and 1 in opposition, and 1 absent. And that brings us to Ordinance number 6165 of 2022. Somebody please correct me if I skipped one. There are quite a few here, so, but I believe that is the correct one. It's 6165 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund and to provide an appropriation for ERAP housing quality inspections and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
We missed 6160, I believe.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Hopkins. Could we go back to 6160, please, Mr. Clerk?
And that was in my Globo.
That was in the Globo.
No, that was in Globo.
Oh, yeah, it
Was it in Globo?
That was.
Okay.
All right, sorry for the back and
Thank
forth.
you.
Okay,
Now make sure
Commissioner
y'all
Clerk, you
tell
had
the
it right. Go
fire
ahead.
folks
That's
I
okay. That's a lot.
supported their stuff this time.
All right, so we're back to 6165.
Okay.
Did you finish?
Motion to remove this one from the agenda.
Okay,
Second.
we have a motion to remove from Commissioner Jackson and a second from Commissioner Hopkins. Commissioner Jackson, any comment?
Yeah, those dollars have basically dried up. As of right now, there are no dollars for ERAP, right?
That's correct, sir.
And so, right now, it is irrelevant. But, you know, I do want to say that it's not the craziest idea. We created the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund. I heard somebody say, where did it come from? The E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund has been in place since 2017. And I believe we voted on it 4 times before it passed. So if someone missed it, then I don't know how you could miss it, because it was voted on four different times, 4 different iterations, and we've amended it over the years. So to think that it just dropped out the air, but Dr. Jones was a pillar in our community who died fighting for fair, safe, and sanitary housing. And so I don't necessarily know, particularly here the 3rd day of Black History Month, of how we could question why Dr. E. Edward Jones. But to the other comment that I heard about the relevancy for this, we paid one particular development in excess of almost $300,000 or $400,000, maybe even more, for rental assistance. And what we found was those individuals, Commissioner Jones, in your district and throughout the area, were living in the most deplorable conditions. And those were dollars that they received up front. But what we knew and what Treasury allowed for was for those dollars to be able to be utilized to relocate individuals. And so if the proposal would have passed, inspectors wouldn't have gone out to proactively enforce it. It would have been when somebody made a complaint about their quality of housing. And so this would have been solely for individuals that were a part of the ERAP program, because the Treasury guidance allowed for that relocation to be done with that. So you have to have a reason to relocate a person. And I think we have something on the agenda that speaks to that, because individuals should not be forced just because they have to live there for free or subsidized or whatever. They shouldn't be required to live in slum conditions in 2022. This is America. And to sit here and think that just because a person's income is of a certain level, that they should live outside, or they should live in bad conditions. I just heard somebody talk about it's being cold, the winter weather coming through. Who is our neighbor? That's a basic question. Who is our neighbor, and how are we caring for those, the least of these? And so I'm always going to beat my fist on the table to make sure that we are looking out for the least of these. And so, but right now there is not a need for these dollars. But if we do, those dollars do materialize, I will be reintroducing this, because we do need to make sure that individuals are living in safe, quality, and sanitary housing. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. So Commissioner Jackson made a motion to remove this item. It was seconded by Commissioner Hopkins. I see Commissioner Chavez may have a comment on this.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Thank you, President. And it's not directly to this item, but this item came up while we were in the public hearing, and I didn't want to take, Commissioner Jackson was right, and I want to make sure that this was in the record so the public didn't leave here thinking that we were not allowing people to speak. But during a public hearing, per Robert's Rule of Order, a public hearing is where comments from the public go into the public record. a public hearing is not a question and answer format. So I know this was the specific topic that we just discussed earlier. I just wanted to put that out there so we knew, so it didn't look like we were trying to skirt communication.
Thank you.
We have to follow our rules.
Thank you very much.
President.
Okay, and Commissioner Jones.
I hold my comment until we move to 6170.
Okay. All right, are we ready to vote on this one? We have a motion to remove item 1411 from the agenda. Please vote.
And that motion carries with 11 in support, none in opposition, and 1 absent. That brings us to the next item, ordinance number 6166 of 2022, which is an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund to roll over an existing 2021 appropriation for eviction mitigation into the 2022 budget and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Jackson, a second from Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Jackson, would you like to comment?
Yes, I think this question also came up in the public hearing aspect of it, is why 2021? Can somebody from finance, Haley, do you want to explain how this happens, that it's 2021 and we're in 2022, and why it stayed 2021?
Yes, sure. As the Emergency Rental Assistance Program started gearing up, it evolved quite rapidly. And just quite frankly, I was inundated with just getting the money out the door and failed to get the ordinance put in front of the commissioners to pass. However, you know, we communicated about emergency rental assistance on every meeting. So that's why this one is.
Well, I was talking about our roll forward, carrying over.
Why are we carrying it over?
Yeah.
Oh, because we didn't finish the process.
Right, and so this is just our process to carry funds over.
Yeah.
Right, so that's what I was asking, is this is just a process that we normally do to roll funds that have been unused over. And so they've been encumbered, but to continue to spend or pay those attorneys or whatnot, they have to be rolled over. So this is just that process. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So these are not any new dollars. This is
I understand.
existing dollars.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Just a quick question. The citizens who apply, do they have to be unemployed, or are these to help people who are employed as well?
Have to be with ERAP, right?
Anybody in the emergency rental assistance program, and those are just people that are a certain level of income. So it's a lower income population, but you can be employed and still participate.
So it could be for citizens who are just struggling to make ends meet but are working?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. That's it, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Gage Watts. Seeing no one else on the board, let's vote, please, Mr. Clerk. Voting on ordinance number 6166.
And that motion carries with 12 in support and none in opposition. The next item is ordinance number 6167 of 2022. That's an ordinance repealing section 38-4 of the Code of Ordinances regarding the Shreveport-Caddo 2030 Master Plan and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
Move to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Hopkins, a second from Commissioner Young to move and adopt item 6167. Commissioner Hopkins, any comments?
Yeah, again, this, we've talked about this a couple different times, and this is repealing the master plan. And the master plan was done in about 2010, and it provided us the opportunity to get the great UDC. And I think out in the rural area, which this would affect, now that we have the MPC inside the city limits of Shreveport, it would take it back to a more rural, agriculture-based type situation. Do away with it. We still need a planning mechanism. We've got to have a comprehensive plan. So we're not just doing away with everything, but we would come back with a company, hopefully that's more local, whether they're in the state or in the actual region, that have dealt with rural plans before. And I think it would better fit and suit the parish and its citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hopkins. Commissioner Johnson?
But this part is only dealing with the UDC? Or
It's the master plan, yes.
Are you saying the whole master plan?
The whole master plan that affects outside in the Caddo unincorporated areas.
So
Shreveport would still have their master plan.
I know, but we spent money to do a plan, and now we finna say just throw it in the trash can.
I think it's time, I believe it's time to do a new plan.
Okay. The plan
Part of the
can-
reason is because we're here with this
Well,
chaos.
But I'm saying that the plan can also just be modified to remove the UDC, but keep the other pieces of the master plan in there. I mean, you don't throw the house away just because the kitchen burnt down.
I think in our case, throw it away and we start over.
Well, I just think that we should basically amend that part of the master plan dealing with the UDC, but still keep the master plan in place, because there's other pieces of the master plan that's in there that doesn't apply to the UDC. And just to say we're gonna throw everything away, I don't really agree with that.
All right, so.
But we don't need y'all input on that. Y'all had y'all time to talk.
Pretty good.
Okay.
You done?
I'm good.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think at this time, since I do have a little planning background, I think we need to, I need to make a substitute motion to move it to committee. I'm not sure what committee that it goes to, but given the fact that we've spent a lot of money on plans, I'm very familiar with spending a lot of money on plans and then putting them on shelves. And on the other end, spending a lot of money and then just throwing it away when it can be amended.
We can't hear anything.
Well.
What I'm saying, I hope you can hear me.
Second.
Okay, and that is to substitute motion to move it to committee for consideration.
All right, we have a motion from substitute motion from Commissioner Burrell to move this to committee, and as the president, I would say the Long Range Planning Committee. Did we have a second to that?
I second it.
Who was that? Commissioner Johnson seconded it. All right, Commissioner Jackson is on the board.
Just as a point of reference, this has been in the Long Range Planning Committee already.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Jay. Anything else?
I just wanted to note that we discussed this in the Long Range Planning Committee already, and I don't know how much more productive it's going to be to send it back. So I don't know if folks, I don't know if everybody knew that we had did that already. So I'll just point that out.
Thank you for the reminder, Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was going to say the same thing. Commissioner Chavez led us in a discussion of this in long range, and it was forwarded to this body by a vote of that committee.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Burrell, you're back on the board?
Yes, sir. I'd just like to know what the result is. Is that the result that came out of the long range
Yes, sir. They
planning?
forwarded it to this committee with this recommendation. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, to be clear, it came out of the Long Range Planning Committee to abolish it.
Yes, sir. May I speak, President?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Not only did we hear it in committee, but we set up a citizen subcommittee, and they had many town hall meetings, and they collectively took a vote on it, and the report back to us was from that committee that they wanted to abolish the master plan and the UDC.
Now, what committee was that?
Long range planning. Long range planning.
Okay. Okay, well, I rescind my motions.
Okay, that substitute motion has been withdrawn. Is that what I hear? Okay, Commissioner Johnson. So, Commissioner Johnson, what's your comment on that substitute motion or something else?
Well, I just want, I guess, a point of clarification. If this came out of committee, why isn't the committee as the author of this particular ordinance instead of a commission?
I can't tell you that.
Well,
An error on our account.
Well,
Error by the president.
No, it ain't the error on the president. It's an error somewhere. But if the committee made this recommendation to the body, then that should be by committee and not by an individual commission.
It should have been. That was an oversight on our account. Fix it. All right. Let's see. All right. So this substitute motion has been rescinded, and we are now back to the original motion. I see no new comments on the board. There are a couple old comments. Y'all are covered, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's have a vote on Commissioner Hopkins' motion that's on the agenda, which also came from the Long Range Planning Committee, to repeal the master plan. Please vote.
Okay, that motion does not carry. It fails with a 6-6 vote.
6-6, no.
That brings us to ordinance number 6168 of 2022. That's an ordinance repealing ordinance 6071 of 2021 relative to establishment of a parish planning commission and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
I'd like to move to delay this item until after.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Young to delay this till after the Attorney General opinion is
Yes.
in hand, and a second by Commissioner Burrell. Any other comments?
No.
All right, anyone on the board? Commissioner Chavez?
I
That's
think
old.
Commissioner Young and Commissioner Burrell's opinion is good, or their lead on this, so I'll be voting with them to delay until the AG's opinion.
Okay. All right, any other comments?
You took my speech away.
Would you like to make your speech?
What was the motion? I'm sorry.
There's a motion to delay.
Oh.
Commissioner Hopkins, get on the board, or?
No, sir,
All right,
thank
let's
you.
call for a vote. Mr. Clerk, please vote on item 6168 to delay, item 6160, to delay or not delay 6168.
And this is, of course, to delay, I believe the language is to postpone until the next regular session meeting after the Attorney General's opinion is received.
That's correct, Mr. Clerk.
Commissioner Taliaferro?
My mistake. Thank you, ma'am.
And that motion carries with 10 in support and 2 in opposition. That brings us to ordinance number 6170 of 2022. It's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the oil and gas fund for the year 2022 to provide an appropriation for relocation assistance and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move to adopt. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Johnson, a second by Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Johnson, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, with the ERAP money that's being basically that's dried up now, there's a lot of evictions that are going on, and so some of the people need help to relocate, and this is one of the ways that we can help them to relocate to another apartment or another facility that they can live in.
Okay. Any, Commissioner Jones?
Yes, I know it was brought up earlier, about these people and them paying their rent and all of this good stuff. I want to make it, abundantly clear that many of the citizens who live in my district who are having to deal with this type of situation, and those who are asking to relocate, are not responsible for the mold that's been in that building for years. Particular units within my community, Woodlawn Terrace, it's no secret there, have been in pretty bad condition since I was a small child. And so it's kind of hard to blame people here in 2022 for things that have not been corrected over the years. And I can understand, although Commissioner Jackson did pull his motion, or his resolution rather, from the agenda, it's best for us to make sure that we're spending our tax dollars in places where things are gonna get done, and we're not putting people in a position where they have a low quality of life. And I would hope that we would be concerned with the quality of life for all citizens in Caddo Parish. Commissioner Jackson asked the question earlier that Jesus asked, who is my neighbor? And the person who shined the most in that story was the one who showed mercy. And it was amazing in that story that the Jew was so against a Samaritan that he could not even say the Samaritan was right. But all he could say was the one who showed mercy. And Jesus said, go and do likewise. At what point are we going to do likewise? At what point are we going to be just as concerned with what's going on in Cedar Grove, in Hollywood, in other places as we are in Blanchard, in Keithville, and Greenwood? Because when I stood before this commission for an appointment, That's what I said, is that I would be just as concerned as about what goes on in the inner city as I would in the rural areas. I don't want any one of us to assume that anyone sits on this board plays politics. Because me, personally, speaking for myself, I want to make sure I do what makes sense for everybody. For everybody. And it does not make sense for us to be okay with the quality of life in the rural area, but not okay with how people are living in the inner city. I get a lot of emails about the zoning board, but I hope everybody's just concerned about the mothers that I have to hear who are struggling to keep their children healthy because they live in mold. And in Woodlawn Terrace is not subsidized housing. I need to make that abundantly clear here today, that the people who live in my district are not living for free. They have to pay their rent. They have to be gainfully employed. And COVID-19 happened to everybody in this room. Whether you were well-to-do, whether you were poor. We all felt the effects of it in some shape, form, or fashion. And I'm just beyond the pettiness that I hear because we all want our way. What I would like to see begin to happen within not just this board, but in humanity, is that we actually care and start living the gospel that some of us say we believe in.
Amen.
Because if we care and we're merciful, like we stand up on Sunday mornings and act like we are, then that should be evident Monday through Saturday as well. Not just when you get in front of your other parishioners or pastors, but you should live that out, because that's what true character is. It's who you are when nobody's looking. And I'm just beyond the pettiness and foolishness of not getting things done because we want to make sure, okay, we're getting our way. This is an issue that needs to be addressed. People need to live somewhere where it's clean, and if we care about the children that we say are our future, they need to be able to go to school every day knowing that they're going to come home to a clean house, at least livable. Now, I can't make people clean their homes up. I can't do that. But not everybody who's in this situation is keeping a dirty house, y'all. Let's be honest with ourselves. Some of these people are living in situations far beyond their control, and according to the lease agreements that they have, the renters are responsible, the landlords are responsible for the repairs. And if they're not making the repairs, then they're not holding up their end of the lease. And the least we can do is put people in the position where they can live comfortably. I don't think that's asking too much. So I want us to start carrying the same enthusiasm, and please understand the passion of my heart. I don't say a whole lot, I guess because I'm the new guy. But, I mean, today, y'all, we've got to start using common sense and making sure that we use the same enthusiasm as we are behind this zoning case with what's going on in the inner city. So when we start talking about crime prevention and stuff up here, I want to see this same place packed out when we talk about crime prevention in the inner city. Because according to what I heard today, that's what we need to be focusing on, not the rural area zoning. So the next time we talk about crime prevention from the Caddo Parish Commission standpoint, please come back and speak up. Please be in here. The moment we got ready to talk about inner city issues, the chamber got empty. Everybody ran out of here. The moment we talk about who is my neighbor, nobody has anything to say. I want every citizen to be heard. I want every citizen to be able to exercise their rights. But I find it shameful that we would clear the chambers when it's time to talk about other things that are affecting all of Caddo Parish. But you want me to be concerned with all of Caddo Parish, but you don't have to. That's not right. We need to grow up from that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with what Commissioner.
Mask. Yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly with what Commissioner Jones just said, and we have to be concerned. You know, that parable that we have been tossing around and talking about. I thank God every day that I'm not the Levite, Commissioner Jones. I thank God every day I'm not the Jewish preacher, the Jewish priest that passed down that road. But I especially thank God every day that I'm not the robber that was on that road. And that is what has happened. There's a lot of folks in our community, in our country, are being robbed every day. And I heard a gentleman come down here and say, I think I heard him say it, that nobody wants to live in that sewer dump. When he referring to Shreveport, that's, and I continue to tell folks, so go to city of Shreveport, so go to Parish of Caddo. And to have folks think that we don't have to pay attention to what's going on in our inner city neighborhoods, it's shameful to see folks say that and just feel so comfortable getting up, walking out the door. So the least we could do is move forward with helping folks get safe and quality housing. People are products of their environments. And when we wonder why people have bad temperaments and folks can't resolve issues, if I woke up every day in the situation that some folks in this community wake up in, I would be just as frustrated as they are. And many of those people call up on us to represent them, and they do not make the distinction of whether you are a city council member or a parish commissioner. They don't care. Commissioner Jones, Pastor Jones, when you leave in church, they don't stop and ask you and give you a test first. Are you my commissioner? Are you my councilman? Are you my school board? All they know is every 4 years you're gonna come knock on my door, ask for a vote, and then in between time you're gonna come and ask for some support on renewing these millages and sales taxes that we levy up on folks. But they never see a change. And so the least we could do is help people, not give them everything. So again, I'm glad I'm not the Levite. I'm glad I'm not the Jewish priest. But I'm glad I wasn't a robber on that road, because a lot of people are being sapped. Their lives are being sapped right up in front of them. And so we should move this forward. We should approve this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Telfair.
Thank you, Mr. President. Since we're appropriating 72 grand, and we're appropriating this because people are living in substandard, unhealthy conditions, and we've documented those substandard and unhealthy, unsanitary conditions, and we're appropriating this. We hope to appropriate this money to hopefully correct the standard of living for those people that are going to be directly impacted. I'm asking Attorney Bernstein, is because we're doing this because of the situation that we are placed in to take care of our brother and sister, is there an opportunity for us to go back and recoup that money from the people who are in direct violation that has forced us to get involved here? Does that make sense?
I think I understand the question, sir, and no, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson.
Yes, I want to make sure that we got the correct understanding on this ordinance. This ordinance is just not Wilkerson Terrace.
Right.
It's dealing with parish-wide issues. So if somebody was laid off because of COVID and they fell behind on their rent, and they might just not be trying to get back on their feet, but the landlord wants to put them out. Okay, now they got to relocate somewhere. So when they relocate, apartment could be fine, but the landlord wants to put them out. So they need help to get into another location because they are already trying to catch up. They got to put up a deposit, they got to move stuff, and so this money is to help them to relocate and not use the funds that they will have for rent, but to help them relocate. So it's not just one situation, it's a multiple list of situations that's going on. And you know the need is there because you look at all the money that we allocated for rental assistance. That could have showed you how many people out there now that are actually in need. And so if somebody can say, well, this apartment across town has now opened up which is now a little bit lower for them, they might be able to get over that now. Whereas opposed, they was paying a higher rent somewhere else. So this is to help people to get into the position that they need to be in to get back on their feet and to support themselves. And one of the agencies actually has been doing this already, getting people out because electricity had been cut from an apartment and you got children that staying there, so there's no electricity, it's cold there, no water, they cut the water off. I mean, what we're gonna do, let them sit in an apartment that has those kind of conditions. So they've actually been doing some of this work as we speak. So it's just to help ones that need help to get into places where they can live and not have to depend on the government all the time. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. I was actually sent a message from a constituent asking if there was a pre-inspection requirement of the future facility. And I see the two entities that are carrying this out as Providence House and Hope Connections, and those are both valid, reputable organizations. So I guess that'd be just to maybe Dr. Wilson, just ask them that when they're moving our citizens to a better new place, that they have the pre-inspections in there, maybe in the CEA. But that's it. I just want to make sure that the citizens' comment gets on the record.
All right.
All right, thank you, President.
Seeing no one else on the board, let's vote. Voting on ordinance number 6170.
And that motion carries with 12 in support, none in opposition. That brings us to 6171, an ordinance amending the 2022 budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the American Rescue Plan Fund to provide an additional appropriation for Fit for Life Ministries and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion for Commissioner Johnson, a second from Commissioner Chavez to move and adopt ordinance number 6171. Commissioner Johnson, would you like to comment?
Yes, basically this money was put into a bucket for events, and so now just taking some of that event money out and putting into an organization. And the organization for this purpose is Fit for Life, because of the year 2020, I believe, that they didn't have the full function because of COVID, and so it was lost revenue. And so this is to help them because they had the lost revenue.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Clerk, I will just point out American Rescue has a typo in it. So
I
if we
did
could fix
notice that. Thank you.
Yes,
We'll
sir.
correct that.
All right, seeing no other comments on the Fit for Life motion, let's vote, please.
And that motion carries with 11 in support and 1 absent. That brings us to ordinance number 6172 of 2022, an ordinance amending the 2022 budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund to provide appropriations for housing projects and otherwise provide with respect to...
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Jackson, a second by Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Jackson, would you like to speak to your
Yeah,
motion?
I'd like to just add an amendment that they would still have to follow or go through the process with the National Development Council before they receive any funding. So just want to add that in there.
What was the name of it?
They would have to go through the National Development Council process to receive their funds. So that project still would have to be vetted.
Any other questions on this? Oh, Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had a question for, I guess, Finance. This is about 6172, is that correct?
Correct.
I just wondered how much, what was the funding level that's currently in the E. Edward Jones Trust Fund? And Ms. Barnett, if you know the answer to that.
How much, right now, it's about 2 million.
It's about 2 million? Okay, and we're about to take out 1.8 million?
Well, there was 2 million of ARP monies put in there, and there was a previous million, so the total in there is 3 million.
I see.
But the ARPA money was just 2, which is what this is related to.
I see. So this is money from the federal government that we're dispersing. Okay, thank you. That's all, Mr.
Any other questions? I have a question for Commissioner Jackson. What is the National Development Council guideline?
Yes, National Development Council is the entity that has been formally contracted to manage the Housing Trust Fund. They've done national deals all across the country, and they responded to a competitive RFP from the parish to administer that trust fund. So,
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, let's vote.
And that motion carries with 11 in support and 1 in opposition. And that brings us to ordinance number 6173 of 2022, an ordinance amending the 2022 budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Riverboat Fund and the Oil and Gas Fund to provide an additional appropriation for urban support and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'd like to move to amend and reduce the appropriation request to $3,500.
Motion to reduce the appropriation to from $8,000 to $3,500. That motion was made by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts, seconded by Commissioner Burrell. Further comments, Commissioner Gage Watts?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. President. As urban support has enhanced hundreds of lives in Caddo Parish, our youth in particular, this request is reduced to include in its current program in applicable communities. The agency will provide a 5-week summer camp concentrating on the performing arts. The activities will begin in May and culminate with an exhibit in June. I respectfully ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments here? Seeing none, let's vote.
Just for clarity in that motion, could I just clarify, that motion was to amend to reduce the appropriation to $3,500 and adopt, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, great, just wanted to make sure.
All right, we good? All right, let's vote.
I was on the board.
Oh, Commissioner Jackson's on the board?
Yeah, Commissioner Larry was giving me the eye, so I was gonna englobo and adopt resolution number 6173, 6174, 6175, 6176, 6177, 6186, 6187, 6188, and yeah, that's 6189. Well, at least 6189 up.
Could you take us?
Second.
Since
I gave you the
Can we go a little slower, please?
Could you take us through those one more time, Commissioner Jackson?
Everything from 6173
6173 to 6188?
to 6188. That's correct.
88.
Okay, 6188. You're ending on 6188?
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Jackson and a second by Commissioner Lazarus to englobo and adopt, was it, Commissioner Jackson?
Yes, sir.
Those items from 6173 down to 6188.
Yes.
All right. Commissioner Jackson, would you like to speak on your motion?
I mean, I've got enough wind in me to speak on all of these, but I think the roads are predicting to get a little bad, so I'm just trying to get us all out of here.
I appreciate that.
Safe.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yeah, I would like to have some kind of way to know when these have been amended. I mean, they don't show what's amended. When you click on them, like 6174, it says amended, but we can't tell what was amended from the original.
So you'd like to see like track changes
I would like to
included?
see highlighted, underlined, something.
Okay. We can do that. Well, what we do is we upload a clean copy, but we can provide a track changed copy that will have those changes and highlight.
But nothing was amended on this one.
Is that for future?
If it was yours, it would have had Jackson amended.
But yeah.
Is that for future reference?
Well, I still want to know what it was. I mean, because I
Okay,
still
so
don't
you want to know what that?
But we didn't make an amendment on
If you
this.
don't mind, that's just the title of the file. I wrote those files, we're amending Head Start, we're amending Section 8, and that's just the name, is that the ones you're talking about? That's just the
6174,
file name that I
6175.
gave it, and it's an amendment. That's just the file name that I gave it. It doesn't necessarily mean that there was a different version.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? That's just my file
Okay.
name.
All right.
So, Mr. Clerk, when we get it to ours, can you take that amended out if it hadn't been amended?
Yes.
And Jackson edits too.
Yes, what we can do is, in fact, that's not a bad idea for us to review the attachment naming process. So we'll just update that, and that way we can maybe make it more clear in an instance like that.
Thank you. I'm good.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, let's vote.
Okay, is everybody clear on the vote before you? If not,
Going through
speak up or
6188.
pass.
Commissioner Atkins,
There you
Commissioner
go.
Jackson, and Commissioner Taliaferro.
Taliaferro out of the house.
Okay, that motion carries with 11 in support and 1 absent. And that brings us to ordinance number 6189, an ordinance to enact section 2-5 relative to parish-owned or maintained buildings and offices to provide that agencies, constitutional officers, or the political subdivisions occupying those buildings and offices shall report data regarding communicable diseases of concern to the public and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move for adoption.
Motion to adopt by Commissioner Epperson, second by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts. Commissioner Epperson, any comments?
Yes. Of course, this isn't just to bring up anything such as a common cold or anything of that nature. We know we've been dealing with the pandemic relative to the COVID, and there could be some other communicable pandemics that has the same type scenario. All persons that are occupying facilities that are under the auspices of the parish, as well as our cleaning crews, as well as putting up protective barriers and buying protective equipment on behalf of our employees, as well as the citizens that come to participate in the services that we provide. Just a case in point, last week, the court had to shut down because of an influx of COVID. I had a couple of citizens that called me that was for jury duty, and it sort of had them in a limbo. And for some reason, some persons in some departments figure that they shouldn't be required. We aren't talking about putting anybody's name down as to what we have. Of course, I'm pretty sure that you all got the information that was provided to us by Human Resources as to how we notify our employees and staff when someone has contracted and what the procedures is. And I'm pretty sure I've called several times this week and last week and looking for individuals, and I understand that they are home quarantined because of COVID. And I think this is no more or no less that we should let the public know, because after all of these tax dollars come out of the same pocket to provide all these services for all of these persons that operate in our buildings. And we owe it to our citizens to let them know. And I would hope that you'd support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner Chavez.
I'll yield. Thanks, President.
All right, we ready for a vote? Any more discussion on this item? Seeing no one on the board, let's vote.
And that motion carries with 10 in support and 2 in opposition. And that brings us to zoning ordinances for introduction by title, of which we have none today. So that will move on to ordinances for introduction by title, which include 2 items today. We have the introduction of ordinance number 6191 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Riverboat Fund and Oil and Gas Fund in the amount of $10,000 to provide an appropriation for the Louisiana Advocates for Immigrants in Detention associated with the Highland Center and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is an introduction of ordinance number 6193 of 2022, an ordinance creating the I-49 North Corridor Economic Development District, State of Louisiana, defining the boundaries thereof, from which area local sales tax, property tax, and hotel occupancy tax increments will be determined and used to finance economic development projects in accordance with and as approved by Part 2 of Chapter 27 of Title 33 of the Louisiana Revised Statutes of 1950 as amended, and providing for other matters in connection with the foregoing. And then that brings us to work session minutes. Where
Move
you
to
do have work
approve.
session minutes attached.
We had a motion by Commissioner Jackson, a second by Commissioner Burrell to approve the work session minutes. Everybody in favor by acclamation? Okay, let's carry on, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, that brings us to resolutions, where resolution number 12 of 2022 is a resolution authorizing the parish administrator to enter into an agreement with the Louisiana Department of Transportation to repave a portion of Louisiana Highway 173 and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
Move to approve, and I thought we are gonna take that fifth whereas out.
Should have been removed.
Oh,
Is
it's
it not
still
on the-
showing on mine, but
Oh, I'm sorry, so,
just whenever we do, we just take that fifth, whenever it's
Okay.
filed, I think.
And make a motion to pass as amended by
Yes.
removing the fifth whereas.
yes, and I'm
paragraph.
sorry, that copy does read Jackson edits. That is the previous edit that has been removed and should now say the copy should be the one
Okay.
as amended. So that's our error in uploading the wrong draft.
All right, so we have a motion by Commissioner Jackson, second by Commissioner Burrell, I think. Any comments here?
Just taking up Dr. Wilson on his offer and moving this forward. There will be a conversation with LADOTD about utilizing and trying to tap into infrastructure money. And once that's set up, I'll send you the information to be our representative on that call.
Okay.
All right, seeing no one on the board, let's vote, please.
Okay, and that motion carries with 12 in support, none in opposition. And that brings us to resolution number 13 of 2022, a resolution to request that the Department of Homeland Security take immediate action to correct systemic problems within the 8 ICE detention
Move
centers.
to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion to adopt from Commissioner Young, a second by Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Young, would you like to comment?
Yes, Mr. President, briefly, this resolution is a request to the federal government to correct some oversights and problems that are going on in our detention release protocols, which are managed by governments and their contracting partners other than us. We are currently considering helping to fill a financial gap and relating to the release of these persons into our country to seek asylum. And this resolution is a request to fix the process so that that gap filling won't be required indefinitely. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Young. Any other comments on this item? Seeing none, let's vote.
Okay, and that motion carries with 12 in support and none in opposition. That brings us to resolution 14 of 2022, a resolution urging and requesting the Louisiana Legislature to modify Louisiana Revised Statutes 42:17.1 to allow unlimited agenda items during meetings of public bodies held via electronic means and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Epperson and seconded by Commissioner Jackson, was it?
Yeah.
Commissioner Epperson, any comment?
Yes, I'm pretty sure during this pandemic, this has manifested itself, and I think we are an I don't think, but I know we are an entity that was elected by our constituents within Caddo Parish, and it should be our purview to take care of every piece of legislation and everything that's under our responsibility and jurisdiction on behalf of the citizens. And I don't think it's the state legislature's position to tell us how to handle our business. Of course, we see the agenda we have loaded here today. We know that there have been times that we've met on Zoom or other electronic means, and we could not address all of the items that was on the agenda and of concerns. That should have been our responsibility to do, and I think it's just the right thing to do to have us to fulfill our agenda with everything on there that's on behalf of our citizens based upon having to meet electronically.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Was it Commissioner Jackson, you're on the board?
Yes, I just want to note, and maybe legal on top of the growing list of tasks that y'all already have. If y'all could pull, there was some legislation authored last year that allowed for the State Bond Commission to meet virtually irrespective of a pandemic. And so if y'all could pull that and share that with everybody. So it's obviously the legislature has been open to it. They made an exception in the statute specifically for the State Bond Commission to meet once a quarter, every year, completely virtual. So they are making those exceptions and they are allowing that. So and I can't remember the statute or the bill number, but it was adopted last year in the regular session. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hopkins.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a point that, I understand the need for having Zoom meetings or whatever you want to call it, and don't have a problem with that. What I do have a problem with is when we do that, we limit our exchange with our citizens. And so if we're looking at this, I support this resolution, but I want to make sure when we come up with something that we're not limiting our ability to have citizens actually be part of the process. I feel like they're not part of the process when we do that, and I think that's a bad thing. So that's all I had.
Thank you, Commissioner Hopkins. Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think this too is an issue that that the state has taken away from local control, and I can assure you, with all the people I've seen that pack this chamber down here, local control is going to probably become more important since they're always complaining about everybody but them make the decisions. So maybe we need to start making some of our own decisions on the local level. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. Commissioner Burrell gave me a great segue into my question. Well, if you look at the beginning of this legislation, it's got all the whereas, so we have the situation lined out, which we're all familiar with because we dealt with COVID for the last 2 years. But the part that goes into how are we going to address this just merely says, now therefore be it resolved that we urge the state to remove all agenda restrictions on electronic meetings. What exactly does that mean if we need to make the decisions for ourselves on how we manage ourselves? Would it be at the decision of the president that we're going to have an electronic meeting? Is there going to be a majority of us that are going to get together to say, let's have a virtual meeting? You know, what I'm saying is we have nothing lined out here.
Who makes the call?
Right. We know this situation because we've all dealt with it, but it's really not clearly defined on how we're going to maintain ourselves. And I think that should be our request from the commission is, hey, state, leave us alone. We want to be able to have our own meetings, and this is how we want to address moving into the virtual session because there's nothing on here that addresses that.
Commissioner Epperson has some thoughts on that.
Okay. And that's all, President. That's my questions.
We would handle our agenda the same way we handle it now. You know, whatever we need to put on there, we put it on there. Now, under this statute, you know, it's if the governor declares a pandemic, okay? So that's the segue and of course, we would, depending on mitigating circumstances, whereas we would have to meet via Zoom. But the thing about it, all we want to say is that we would put everything on the agenda, take care of everything that does not have to be pandemic related, which does not make any sense to me, because the business of our parish and our responsibility is going to go on irrespective to the pandemic or an emergency declaration.
Is that it, Commissioner Epperson?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Burrell.
Well, the question was asked, well, how are we going to govern ourselves? We're the commission. The majority normally rules. If we want to have a meeting, the majority of the commission vote on that. I mean, we have that already in place in terms of whether we have a Zoom meeting or what have you. I'm not taking anything away from the president, but at the same time, there is a mechanism by which we can do it.
Commissioner Chavez, are you done?
I guess my only question is, we have a 12-person commission. What if 6 say Zoom and 6 say not Zoom? Then we're kind of stuck in a situation. So this doesn't clearly define, would the president would the president at the current level then override that and make the decision? And that's the thing I'm saying is, what are we gonna deal with when we have to forecast what we may deal with later on?
Yeah,
And I agree with, I like this, just to be clear.
We do have, let me just, to use a term I learned from from when Commissioner Jackson was president, let me use a point of presidential privilege and just say, there are some issues that we may need to work through, but the resolution is as is now, and we'll make a decision on whether we need to work through those down the road. Commissioner Talfero.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm all about, not having the state government in our business. I think that we're quite capable of running our own parish. Obviously, we know that the governor's going to declare a state of an emergency or disaster, as Commissioner Epperson said, and we're going to follow some of those guidelines rather than a resolution asking them to do something. And we know, as Commissioner Epperson has said, this is just a request. It's an opinion. If we're really determined to do our own business regardless, then maybe we should just send a formal letter to the governor and say, this is how we've decided to kind of run our business going forward, and forget the resolution. That's just an idea. I'm all about it. Again, I believe, as Commissioner Epperson said, that we are quite capable of running our business. There are a lot of things that are not COVID related that I think suffered during the COVID events that didn't get handled in a timely manner, which should have been. I also agree with Commissioner Hopkins, is that I'm all about being in chambers as much as we can to give the opportunity for our citizens to do the one-on-one, the face-to-face, whenever we can. So I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Attorney Frazier.
Just to address some of the things that were said, the reason that this would be a resolution to the state is because it addresses the public meetings law and the exceptions to the public meetings law.
Okay.
So it's not something that we could send a letter on, and it's not something that we can address outside them changing the law, because prior to them enacting this particular section, there was no exception to meeting in person, regardless of a pandemic or not. The only exception was when the governor declared it in his proclamation, and then once the legislature codified it in statute, then that became the exception with the limitations.
Understand.
So they would have to remove the limitations.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Frazier. Commissioner Burrell, are you back on the board?
Yeah, just as a final comment on a statement that Commissioner Chavez made. When there's a 6-6 vote, and you will have that, I think we have enough confidence in the president to go ahead on and make that call from there, but at least it gives us input. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Okay, we're ready to vote?
Okay, and that motion carries with 12 in support, none in opposition, and brings us now to resolution number 15 of 2022. It's a resolution approving the issuance of not exceeding $4,900,000 of sales tax refunding bonds series 2022 of the North Caddo Hospital Service District of the Parish of Caddo, State of Louisiana, and providing for other matters in connection therewith.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hopkins, second by Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Hopkins, any comment?
Mr. Schluter gave us all the information we needed on Monday.
Thank you. Commissioner Chavez?
Motion to englobe and adopt 15 and 16.
Do we have a second of that motion?
Second.
Second again by Commissioner Jackson to englobo and adopt resolution number 15 and resolution number 16. Commissioner Chavez, do you have any comment on your resolution there? On your motion there?
Just like Commissioner Jackson said, the roads are getting pretty bad, so we
Okay, Commissioner Jackson?
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't point out that I have not asked for anybody's map. I hadn't asked for an FAQ. I haven't asked for the governmental bodies to come down here and plead the blood of Jesus or anything. So
No tax forms? You
just
haven't asked
want
for
to-
any tax forms?
Right, none of that. So I like the idea and support it. disagree that you are removing some of it, but it's your area, and I respect it.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Seeing no one on the board, let's vote on resolutions number 15 and 16. All right.
Motion
Commissioner Clerk.
carries with 12 in support and none in opposition, bringing us to resolution number 17 of 2022. That's the motion to urgent request. That's a resolution to urgent request the Louisiana Department of Natural Resources to consider the negative impacts of oil and gas drilling in or near urban areas, to implement rules combating those negative impacts, and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move for adoption.
Motion by Commissioner
Second.
Epperson, second by, was that Jackson again? You're like the second man
Everybody
for
chops
today.
well out.
Motion by Commissioner Epperson, second by Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Epperson, would you like to comment?
Yes, we've went through our Natural Resources Committee, came out of the committee. We had a few changes, which are all included in the resolution as it's written now. So I would ask for passage of this resolution.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to comment for the record the reasons for my vote about this. Commissioner Epperson brought to our committee a set of recommendations. Several of them are already the law. Some of them were opposed by industry groups on specific grounds. I worked with him to amend each of the sections. Almost every complaint that the industry groups pointed out to us was modified toward the direction that they wanted. They wrote again, expressing the same discontentment with the ordinance, so they're not totally happy. Dr. Siska and some other people pointed out that we're asking for very small changes, maybe as little as 500 feet further from a dwelling or property line in a densely populated area. That might not make a huge difference to people's health, but it might make a little difference to people's quality of life. So they shouldn't be totally happy either. I would say that when both parties are a little bit unhappy in this way, that's a sign that the resolution in question is moderate, and moderation is a virtue. I also don't want us to get into the business of trying to develop expertise in the regulation of oil and gas. The Office of the
Division of Natural Resources.
The division, yes, the Department of Natural Resources has a $60 million budget, and the Office of of Conservation has a $24 million budget. They're the experts. In this regard, I think it's our job to forward a reasonable, edited set of complaints to the experts, and then get on to the business that is imposed on us by our charter. So I'll be supporting it and hope to move on. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Hopkins.
I would just ask that the clerk make available, well, put in part of the record, so it's part of the record, the letter sent from Loga today. I won't try to read it. I think you each received it, but I just like it would be to be part of the record.
Absolutely. Would the body like for me to include that entire packet that I sent you as part of the record today? It's just comments related to this.
Yeah, that's fine. Put all that in there.
Great.
So we'll have all of it.
Certainly will.
Commissioner, you done, Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez?
Thank you, President. I had a lot of communications with some constituents and even some doctors, and we went back and forth on this. And one thing that I wanted to see was something about Cross Lake, about drilling on Cross Lake, and the author was not amenable to adding that, and I did want to remove the part in regards to the $100 bond, and that was also not agreeable as well. So although there are things on here that I do like the sound suppression, the roads drilling site overlaid for the dust, the fracking done at specific hours to not disrupt noise after a specific time, of which I can say I spoke with constituents in the Cherry Hill subdivision, and they do hear this all night long. So they have an issue with this. I think this is good because it's actually drawing some back and forth between the communities and the oil and gas companies I like that number 5 had that the drilling company should meet with the residents, because I think the residents are down here because they're not getting their needs met. But at the end of the day, if we look at the pin that we wear on our left collar, it's got an oil rig, and I don't want to shut down oil or give the wrong impression to the oil and gas industry. So I think we could find a better way to meet between the people and the oil companies and find a better resolution. And I didn't like the fact that I couldn't work with the author on this one, so I'll be against this. Thank you, President.
Thank you, Commissioner Chavez. Commissioner,
I pass, sir.
okay. Commissioner Talfero.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. You know, when this was first introduced, I believe and I thought, and I may have misunderstood, that the goal was basically number 5, that drilling companies will meet with the residents in the communities, you know, to address a lot of these concerns. And we had members of the oil and gas community in our chambers saying that this is exactly what they want, that they don't want to alienate their communities. They realize that the oil and gas business can be a noisy, smelly, dusty business, and just about everything that we're asking is in this resolution has already or should be already provided. And that the members of the oil and gas community came to the chambers and basically extended the olive branch and said, you're absolutely right, we need to have dialogue. We're here to have a dialogue with you. And so because of that, I believe that the resolution wasn't necessary, because we did have representatives from the oil and gas community right here in our chambers saying that absolutely, we are part of the community. We want to be part of the community. We don't want to alienate, obviously, the residents that are in that community where we're doing the drilling. There are a lot of things in here that they're never going to be eliminated, because just of the mere the metrics and the mechanics of fracking. If you start postponing fracking if you only have fracking between 7 and 10, or 7 a.m. and 10 or whatever, then there's a logistic issue with undoing a lot of hardware, safety issues. Every time you break something down, reestablish it, and so forth. And then you're looking at, instead of 2 weeks for fracking or 10 days for fracking, you're looking at a month or month and a half of fracking. You know, if you start doing that, which is not, from what I understand from the oil and gas community, is just not practical, and it's just not safe. So I thought, again, going back to number 5, the whole idea with, you know, establishing this resolution or bringing this forward was to establish some dialogue, and I thought we had done that. So for that reason, I won't be supporting. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Talfero. Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had mixed feelings about this. I've worked with a lot of these oil and gas organizations down at the state level, Lamoga and what is the other one?
Loga and Lamoga.
Loga and Lamoga. And, you know, they're a tough bunch. But at the same time, this resolution doesn't really do nothing other than send a signal down there that we have some concerns. And, you know, if it actually had teeth, that would be something else. The only teeth that it may have, maybe even the gumming, I wouldn't say teeth, would be to be another voice to say that here we have on record, these are concerns that we have, and we want you to state, we want you to work with us. And that's basically all that I see this as. I don't see us stopping anything anywhere. And based upon that, you know, I can understand the concern, because I've dealt with them from the city council standpoint back when I was there, and having to deal with a lot of the constituent complaints that we have. So if it will help that along, I don't see a big problem with it, because it really doesn't do anything other than send a message down to the state. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Jackson.
Oh, I should be off, I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, well, I don't see anyone else on the board, so let me just share some thoughts with you all. First of all, I know that when thank you, Commissioner Burrell, for letting me sit in on your meetings, your natural resources meetings with the producers last month. I think they are trying to move in the right direction. I know we've got some issues. I think some rigs have been getting a little close to neighborhoods. I think we can all agree to that. I think noise can be a problem. Dust can be a problem. I think the industry is trying to work on that, and I think this issue, Commissioner Epperson's resolution has raised some attention to this matter, and hopefully our oil and gas drilling partners will strive to continue to be good neighbors. I do have some concerns that if we actually pass this resolution, that it will send a signal to the industry. I'm afraid it'll send a signal to the industry that may discourage them from participating in drilling activities in Caddo Parish. Some people may say, great, good riddance. Well, the people that actually enjoy the benefits of the industry need to be appreciated as well. The industry hires over 5,000 people a year, or employs over 5,000 people a year in our parish. They spend about $190 million a year in wages in our parish, and that's that's not counting all the ancillary services like proppant trucks that, of course, we see on our highways a lot. But each of those trucks represents several jobs behind the scenes. We also need to keep in mind the $100 million in ad valorem taxes that have been paid to Caddo Parish, directly to Caddo Parish since 2015 and 19, between 2015 and 19. And let's not forget that there are local people who own these minerals that are being developed by these oil and gas companies. So it's not like these guys are coming in, guys and gals are coming in and taking all the wealth out of the community. They're allowing residents of Caddo Parish to access the resources under their land. And if we withdraw that right of access, we may face our own litigation with respect to prohibitions. So, there are valid concerns on both sides. I appreciate the gas industry and the oil and gas industry, and I'd like to see them continue to operate in our communities, albeit with care and respect for our neighbors. All right, that being said, anybody else? Okay, let's vote, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, and that resolution carries with 7 in support and 5 in opposition. That brings us to old business, where the item that we have under old business today is to appoint members to the Caddo Parish.
Resolution 18.
I'm sorry, I skipped over resolution number 18. I apologize.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Jackson and a second by Commissioner Hopkins. Commissioner Jackson, any comments?
Yeah, this is a pass-through where we're going to receive those dollars as a pass-through to the person who was here earlier. It's going to come through the Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund. But administration had their call with the Housing Corporation last week. It was a great call, again, with National Development Council. They will oversee all of this. Edward Taylor with Fairfield Management is the developer on this project, or this development, and they will oversee, and the parish will just administer the funds similar to what we've done with ERAP. And it's essentially a gift to the parish. And in fact, I think we're going to get another one for Lakeside Gardens in the next month or so. So we'll get another deal to do. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Johnson.
Yeah, just one question, and this is to the author. Will this, I know it's a resolution in the pass-through, but will this, on the back end, commit the parish to do anything with the law?
It does not commit the parish, but it doesn't prohibit. So if they want to use E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund, which I doubt very seriously they will, they could. But the developer seems to think that they're going to have enough. This chunk of money is going to peel off a significant amount of the project. Is only the development. The development is only about $4.5 million, and between historic preservation tax credits and home funds, they think that they'll be able to cover, and then just conventional loan, they'll have all that gap covered. But this doesn't, to answer your question, no, this doesn't commit the parish to doing anything.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody else? All right, seeing no one on the board, let's vote.
That motion carries with 12 in support, none in opposition. And that now brings us to old business, where the item that we have today is to appoint members to the Caddo Parish Planning Commission.
I'd like to move to delay this item.
Second. We have a motion to delay from Commissioner Young, a second from Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Young, would you like to comment?
Yes, briefly. I'd like to consider this item at the same meeting when we consider Ordinance 6168, which will be after we get the Attorney General's opinion about whether this board is necessary or we're going to repeal it or whatever. I also think there are some other names that people are coming up with to nominate for our consideration. Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson, is that new? Is that
Yeah, this is new.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to amend this. Well, I guess, Jeff, I can just take them off, huh? Do I need to make a motion to take them off?
The name.
Yeah, I just want to take Mr. Carter Bedford off at this particular time. Didn't realize he was actually in the town of Greenwood. I did reach out to him, asked him if he wanted to serve, but didn't realize he was physically in the corporate limits of the city of Greenwood. But I also would like to speak to the motion to postpone.
Okay, go ahead.
And so with taking him off as well, but I do think that even with him off, this gives us 3 or 5, which would give that board a quorum. And what I heard earlier today from several folks is that we have developers who are ready to move their projects along. And so, I don't have a problem postponing, but I do think that this, to be honest, this is the most immediate amelioration of pain and suffering that can be granted right now. And so if we postpone, those individuals that are looking to invest their monies, they're going to continue to be in this state of unknown. So, I mean, I tend to think that we should appoint the individuals that are willing to serve, and if we decide to change our mind at some point, then we would handle it that way. But I just, think that the best way to get Ms. McAllen, isn't it ironic, Dr. Wilson, that, I got criticized heavily by some folks in this community about House Bill 697. They came after me, and some of them showed up at my house. Showed up at the house. But how ironic is it that the first development to come up under this new scenario is in my district? My big mom would say the Lord works in mysterious ways. The first development, and it's the only piece of land that's outside of the city limits of my district. That is very ironic. And so I don't necessarily have a problem postponing, but I do think that, that young lady has her time, effort, and energy vested, and I would like to see her move forward, and I think this is the only solution that I have for her other than to refund her money and continue to just move her around. Would you agree, Doc? It seems like this is, so I just want us to take that into consideration as we make our decision here today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Chavez?
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Laura Newbert, if I can get a second to speak on it.
Second.
All right, thank you. First off, Commissioner Jackson and I agree 100% on this in regards to this is the most expedient way to get the citizens the help they need. That was what I was trying to accomplish on Monday with that sunset, because it would get this board set up for the people that said they didn't want it. It would sunset automatically, but at least we can get the people through there. I firmly believe that Laura Newbert would be the absolute best first person to be on this board because she has the institutional knowledge from serving on the Metropolitan Planning Commission. So she knows everything in regards to making the motions, the zoning. I think she'll be a good advocate for all the other members that we put on here. If we delay this board, I'm okay with that as well. But I agree wholeheartedly with Commissioner Jackson where if we appoint these people on here, at least we have the board set up and ready to go.
Well, why did you say the people? You just said one name.
I haven't received a proper motion on any of those
Oh,
delays.
second, my bad, second, my bad.
Well, but that wasn't a.
No, it was, I actually had a motion from Commissioner Lazar, but I'll take one from Commissioner Jackson as well. So my motion was just to appoint Laura Newbert. So we have a current motion on the floor, and then my substitute motion is to add Laura, because even if we take my motion and she gets on the board as the person with the institutional knowledge, I think would be a good idea for us, because she's been serving on the Metropolitan Planning Commission, and then we delay it, then at least we have somebody set up that's ready to perform the board works. That's it, I'm done, President.
Well, we have Commissioner Epperson on the board. Are you speaking to, do you speak on the substitute motion or the original motion?
Rather substitute now, since it's, I mean, okay, we're gonna point Laura Newbert, then I move to point K. Proby Wallace. I mean, why Laura Newbert now?
Second.
I don't understand.
I'll second yours, Commissioner Epperson.
Why appoint one now? I mean, what are we going to do?
All right, so is that your point?
Okay.
I understand. All right, so we have the substitute motion from Commissioner Chavez to appoint one person who's a great person. It's just like, do you think it's the right path? We've got Commissioner Johnson on the board.
Yeah, my motion is to.
Is this a substitute motion?
This is an amendment to Commissioner Epperson's motion. I want to make the motion to appoint Kay Proby Waller, Laura Newbert, Phyllis Hart, and Damon Humphreys.
Second.
And you all have Damon Humphreys' resume. I sent it out to y'all while we've been sending it to the meeting, and the clerk also has it too. So that's my motion. That'll give you a body of 4. Just need one more.
Todd? Let's see, who is it? It's, all right, so, sorry, I was distracted. You got a motion and a second to?
Yeah, somebody seconded, I believe. Commissioner Jackson.
And that was an amendment to the first motion.
It's an amendment to Commissioner Epperson's motion.
And you had Kay Proby Waller, Laura Newbert, Phyllis Hart, and Damon
Humphreys.
Hold on. All right, so Commissioner Burrell, you're on the board anyway. What do you got?
Well, I'm trying to get this, excuse me, I'm trying to get this thing straight. First of all, there was a motion made to postpone by JP. Then I assume that Ken made another motion, which I wasn't clear on.
Mario made a motion, substitute motion.
But he said that he was amending Ken's.
He was amending
Commissioner Johnson amended Ken.
Mr. President, would you go back through that gyration again, because it's so muddied up?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Parliamentarian.
The substitute motion was made by Commissioner Chavez, then amended by Commissioner Epperson, then amended again by Commissioner Johnson. So that's all the amendments that
Okay,
the
but
substitute motion
Chavez
had.
only put one, and then Ken put Proby Wallace, and then Johnson put
So
3.
2 more, or maybe it was 3 more.
Actually, I included those 2 plus the other person that's on there and added 1.
Right, so 2 more.
So we get.
Okay,
So
so
now,
we gotta vote on
now
that.
there's a substitute motion with 2 amendments to nominate 4, to confirm 4
So we won't be
people to the board.
postponing this then, the way it sounded.
Well, my vote is gonna be different.
Okay.
All right.
Go ahead on, Mr. Chairman.
All right, so Commissioner.
Well, I still have the floor, excuse me. What I was addressing, the reason why I seconded to postpone it, because the issue that I brought forth earlier and sent you an email on, still not addressed. And that is, there are two commissioners that doesn't have territory outside the city limits of Shreveport, and that still is not addressed. So that was my reason for postponing it, since we said that we were going to try to resolve these issues before we go forward. That was the point, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Commissioner Jones.
Call for the question. Second.
Second.
So the calls for the question, and that would be dealing with, it would be dealing with Commissioner Johnson's substitute motion?
So, and let me just clarify the motion for the call for the question. Is this a call just for the question at hand, or for all items?
Everything.
Okay, so that way, that means right now we'll be voting on the call for the question, which obviously it needs to pass with a 2/3 vote. If that is passed, we'll move on and we'll take those in the order that they were, in order of the most recent introduced.
Okay.
And because of course it did, our voting system just shut down for no
I move for a voice
identifiable
vote.
reason.
I move for a voice vote, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry, I can't understand you.
It's coming back.
I move for a voice vote. Oh, okay.
Is it back?
It should reload. It may take a minute.
Mr. Parliamentarian, while that's reloading, will you take us through the sequence of options from 1 to 3?
So the current motion that is on the table is the one from Commissioner Johnson, which is to appoint Kay Proby Waller, Laura Newbert, Phyllis Hart, and Damon Humphrey. And that is the first item that you would be voting on, should that pass. The one prior to that, I believe, was the motion from Commissioner Epperson. Am I correct in that order? That included Kay Proby Waller, and I believe his motion was just for Kay Proby Waller.
Mr. Chairman, if
Yes,
I
sir.
may, I'd like to withdraw mine.
Okay, so Commissioner Epperson
That'd be
withdraws
okay.
his.
Right.
So we have Commissioner Johnson's, and then we go to
Then we would go to Commissioner Chavez's, which would be to appoint Laura Newbert by herself.
And then if that fails, then we go to the original motion on the table, the
Which is to
original motion
postpone.
to delay.
Yes, which is to postpone until the first regular session after the receipt of the Attorney General opinion.
All right, is your system back up?
It is.
All right, first we have the vote on the call for the question from Commissioner Jones. A yes vote ceases
Okay,
debate.
and that
and
call for
goes-
the question carries with 10 in support and 2 in opposition. So that means we will move again to this, the first item that you will consider is the appointment of 4 members to the Caddo Parish Zoning Commission: Kay Proby Waller, Laura Newbert, Phyllis Hart, and Damon Humphrey.
All right, please vote.
And that appointment fails with it requires a 7 vote. You're only at 6-6. So that does not carry. So that brings us to the item before, which is a appointment of Laura Newbert. Okay, and that motion fails with 3 in support and 9 in opposition. And that brings us to the original item, which is to postpone the appointment of members to the Caddo Parish Planning Commission until the first regular session after the receipt of the Attorney General opinion. My motion carries with 9 in support, 3 in opposition.
Praise God.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Clerk.
That
Mr.
brings us to
Chairman.
new business where we
Mr. President.
I'm sorry.
I'd
Where
like
are
to
we?
make a motion to reconsider the previous motion to add Mr. K. Proby Waller, Laura Newbert, and Phyllis Hart to the Planning Commission.
That was not a motion.
I'm asking us to reconsider the previous motion to add just 3, since I was on the prevailing side.
All right, we have a
There's a second
request to
to it.
reconsider. I did not hear it. And a second by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts to reconsider the establishment of the board with the 3 that are currently written down on the agenda. Is that correct, Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
All right.
So actually, I think what we would need is first a motion to reconsider.
Mm-hmm.
And then if that is
Right.
adopted, then there would need to be another motion
Okay.
to consider the
Okay.
appointment of those 3.
And was Commissioner Jackson on the winning side?
Yes.
I
did.
believe
I voted
he was.
yes to postpone.
Can you confirm that for me if you have?
He did.
Yeah, I believe that is correct. That's what my notes reflect. But that does mean that he can make the motion, and I believe it is a 2/3 vote required
It's not
to
2/3.
reconsider.
Not 2/3 for reconsideration. It's a simple majority.
Let's see, that's an important question. So, Ms. Frazier, do you have that?
I'm looking at your bylaws right now just to make sure. It is a simple majority, that's correct.
All right, Commissioner Jackson's correct.
We had that last year.
Can I speak to my motion?
Yes.
Yeah, I want us to be very clear that we have business owners, and I get the motion to postpone, but we have business owners that are out there that are trying to do business in Caddo Parish right now that cannot move forward. I get it. We have some things that we need to sort out, but I hope that as professionals, and I don't mean this in an insulting way, but I hope we can walk and chew gum at the same time. I hate to see, and we always say we want to be business friendly up here. I hate to see the situation where business owners cannot move forward in this parish. And we have a young lady, homegrown Caddo Parish, who ordinarily would not be somebody who I would come in contact with, wants to develop a very small piece of property, and she cannot move forward. And there are others out there, as I understand it. So all of those individuals are in limbo. And I just think that putting some board together, whether we sunset that board or whenever, you know, because she's going to email me after this is over or tomorrow asking again, because she emails every day and she calls every day. And so I just think putting something together, something is better than nothing. And we shouldn't let perfect be the enemy of good in this particular case. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Lazarus, you're on the board.
Thank you, Mr. President. We can go back and forth with this all night. Some of us have not had opportunity to add our members yet. I think the best thing for us to do is just delay it. Otherwise, we're gonna be here till the cows come home. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Lazarus. Commissioner Hopkins.
I would just say, you know, we delayed until the Attorney General's opinion on the other portion. I think we ought to delay it until we get that opinion, because right now, if we set a board up and then it comes back that we don't have to have a board, then we got to deassemble this board, and it's hard taking people off a board once you put them on. I would just say let's wait. There's more names on this list that we're looking at. If you'll look, there are 2 or 3 other names asking to be appointed. Everybody, I think the chaos that we have gone through since the first of the year, we ought to just wait, get all the names, put them up, and then go through those. I think we'd be better off in the long run. And I just would ask you,
Well, I tell you what, I will withdraw my motion. Jeff, if you would please instruct Linda, every time Nicole calls, call everybody who does not want to do that. So
Okay. All right, so Commissioner Jackson has retracted his motion.
I withdraw my motion to reconsider.
Okay.
Next order of business.
I couldn't hear you, Commissioner.
That brings us to new business, where our item on the table is to authorize the appointment to the Caddo Parish Broadband Committee. I will also mention that if you refresh your online agendas, there may be an additional resume that Commissioner Burrell provided, an additional nominee.
I move to approve all appointees.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Young and a second by Commissioner Epperson, I think, to approve all proposed appointees to the Caddo Parish Broadband Committee. Would you like to comment on your motion? Any other comments on this matter?
I moved it first.
Oh, did you? I owe you one, Commissioner Gage Watts. Okay, Mr. Clerk, please call for a vote.
Okay. And that motion carries with 12 in support. That brings us to communiques and committee reports.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn due to weather.
done. You get a second about that?
Moderate criticism of the makes it easier when everyone's not.
Hey, that's your.